580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Cole Reagan's is awesome Wednesday, baby. That's right. We don't care about the team anymore. We care about individual performances, and Royal pitcher, wannabe NASCAR driver Cole Reagan's, he slaps. He is awesome. He is terrific. So at least we've got Cole Reagan's for the Kansas City Royals, and there will be no slander on the major's best pitcher over the last month, NASCAR wannabe driver Cole Reagan's.
Yeah, he used to slaps.
Yeah, he's legit, man. Like, you wonder, you talk about aces, that's what they look like. Like, that's not hyperbole. What we've seen the last month, that is what they look like.
He has been terrific, and this has been Royals talk today here on.
Yeah, we ain't got to talk about the eighth and the ninth inning. No, we don't have to go. We don't have to talk about that.
We're not even talking about the lineup when they, were squeaking by. But Cole Reagan's, man, that guy is what they used to say when I was in college, on a heater. Man, that dude is pitching well. Welcome into 580 Sports Talk. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you. Thank you for stopping by. We got a jam-packed show. We're going to talk about what can the Chiefs do with Stone Cold Mr. Jones. All right, what are the Chiefs going to do? They've made some moves. They've made some changes, practice squad, all of that. We're going to preview the AFC West this week. We're going to talk with Michael Peterson coming up at the bottom of the hour, talking all things Chargers, and if the Chargers are going to go full Charger. And do Chargers fans know about chargering? Like, they got to, right?
I mean,
Clemson fans know about Clemsoning, so yes, it's a deadlock.
Okay, we're going to get to that.
Yeah, does a bird know it has wings? Like, yeah.
Well, sometimes you're too close to the forest to see the trees.
By the way, real quick, we also, if no one else will, I will. Michael is an Iowa grad. I got to ask him if Brian Ferentz is going to keep his job. I got to know if Iowa's going to score 25 a game.
25 points a game for Brian Ferentz to keep his job.
That's the funniest subplot maybe in college football history.
Is that like a legit contract stipulation?
Yes, they need to average 25 points a game. Although it's not just 25 offensive points.
No, it's total.
Like a pick six or a scoop and score counts. So, it's like speed.
Yes,
it's
exactly like speed.
Yeah, like don't stop the bus.
Brian Ferentz's offense is the bus from Speed.
Is Sandy Bullock and John Wick going to show up? That's what we're wondering.
God, I love that movie. I love that movie so much.
Which one, Sandy Bullock or John Wick?
Well, Speed.
Speed?
Yeah.
I'm going to speed it up. We're going to jump the gap.
I think it was called The Bus That Couldn't Slow Down.
So we'll talk with Michael Peterson today, Bill Williamson tomorrow, and Zach Stevens on Friday. Got Chiefs over unders, Big 12 football. We hope to hear from Brett Veach. That is scheduled at 4:00. We know the Chiefs are not the most punctual, and sometimes they just don't do it.
Okay, we need a timeout here first. Were you under the assumption that Brett Veach spoke at 11 today?
Yes.
Okay. Is that just because that's when the Chiefs normally speak?
Yes.
Okay. It was in our notes that Brett Veach was speaking at 11.
Yeah.
And somebody had to have the task of recording Brett Veach. It gets to, I think it was like 11:10, and Dan says, so is this happening? And I said, well, this is still in the Chiefs window. Like, you get 15 minutes for the Chiefs to be on time.
Just got confirmation just now. Yes, 4:00.
So
that means around 4:10.
So it gets to noon, and Dan says, so is this happening? Like, do we have proof it's going on? And I said, Jesse told us. Jesse Newell said yesterday.
You know how many times I heard the first 6 seconds of the most recent episode of The Franchise because I was refreshing their YouTube page?
No.
I have heard Nate Taylor's voice so much today. It's unbelievable.
So we'll get to Veach. We'll talk with Tim Fitzgerald. All of that coming up today here on 580 Sports Talk. Let us know your thoughts on our text line, 785-272-9429. Check us out on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, hit the subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts on what are the Chiefs going to do with Chris Jones. And I was thinking about this last night. And to me, there are actually about 4 options, maybe a 5th. Okay. 1, he gets a new contract. Percentage that he gets a new contract.
I am down to 20%.
Okay.
33 1/3.
Okay. So that's
repeating, of course.
That is one option. He gets a new contract. We go forward. The second option, you play this year. We don't know how many games, but he plays this year. And he just plays the entire year.
So plays out his contract?
Yeah, plays this year. Not a new contract, just plays on his current contract, shows up when he shows up, and he plays. Okay? The third option, you tag him at the end of the year, and you tag him. Because
that's if you even have to. Because, again, as we know, he's got to play at some point for the contract to toll. For this year to count as a contract year. If he does not do that for whatever reason, this final year of his deal would roll into next year.
See, the Chiefs, if you really want this, they can be, like college girl petty, if you will. And he only plays 8 games this year. His tag is stupid low this year. They, because he played only a certain amount of games. You tag him, he's under contract. He can't go anywhere else. Like, they could be that petty. They really could. And say, Chris Jones, you know what? You're going to do this to us? Hell hath no fear, or hell hath nobody scorned like Brett Veach and Clark Hunt, right? Hell hath, like a woman scorned.
Right. No fury, like.
Yeah, right. Like that could be the Chiefs. Like they control everything, almost determining how much he's going to get paid because it's not going towards the cap. He can play in 8 games. He accrues the season. He only makes like $10 million this year because you only get paid for when you show up potentially. Then his cap hit next year, if you tag him, is only going to be like $20 million. The Chiefs will gladly do that. Oh, you don't want to play on the tag? Fine. Sit out another year. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're not going to do anything. Is that going to be an era of, that's like the pettiness of the petty? That's an option though. They can do that.
They can.
That is true. I don't think they will, but you tag him, and then you do this whole, situation again, right?
Yeah,
that's what you do.
Yeah. All right, let's go through the last potential.
And then the last one is you trade him. Like those are the 3: new contract, play out this year, then you tag him next year. Now you could let him play out this year, and then just let him be a free agent. You just say we are done with you, Chris Jones, right? You tag him, or you trade him. Now, there are 3 ways that you can trade him. You trade him right now. You could trade him right now and someone would take him. The Chicago Bears would take Chris Jones right now.
In a heartbeat.
You'd get their first-round pick for Chris Jones.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, you should. That's what you should ask for. But I don't know if that's...
You'd get the worst of their 2 picks. They have Carolina's 2.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, you trade him this year. They're not going to take anything less than a first. They're not. Okay, so then you just trade him right now, right? That's an option. Just trade him right now, and we're going to play this year. We'll use we won the Super Bowl last year, Chiefs fans, so if we don't win it this year, it's okay, right? You bought essentially a year of, if they don't win it this year, it's okay. You trade him at the deadline. You mentioned that earlier. You trade him at the deadline. Don't know what you're going to get, but maybe you trade him at the deadline. Maybe it's the same as trading him right now. I have no idea. Or he plays this year, plays his 8 games, or plays however many games he's got. Then you tag him, and then you trade him. Now, you're not going to get probably a first-round pick then because you're giving up a pick, and then you're going to have to pay him, but maybe that's the same because you're not going to get him for this year. That's why I think if you trade him right now, you'd get a first because that team would get him for his 29-year season, whereas opposed to next year, he's got another year of tread on the tires. You're giving him a big contract, and you're then going to have to give up a draft pick. Maybe you get a first round. I know you're going to get at least a second round. It all depends on the market. I mean, Tyreek Hill got a first round pick, a second round pick, a fourth round pick. You got a bunch for Tyreek Hill. He was a little younger. He was 28, I believe, at the time. So a little bit younger, but that's it. Like, these are your options if you are the Kansas City Chiefs. That's it. Now the trade, there are three layers of that, obviously. That's what you can do.
So I guess you should never say never. I would put it at less than 1% that they just let him walk. That's not going to happen. There's too much value tied up in the player to just let it. Now, would most players prefer that be the outcome? Of course they would. They would like to be able to just walk away and say, here, take your 3rd round pick. Let's move on.
We would call that, basketball and baseball where there is no franchise tag.
Right. And you just walk away. You just move on. That's not going to happen. The teams have too much control. There's too much value to be had in moving those players for parts. That's not going to happen. I think there might be, those other 2 options to put the franchise tag on him or to trade him. I imagine one way or the other, the Chiefs will use the franchise tag on Chris Jones after this year, but it might be more of a procedural thing, like what the Packers did with Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
When they tagged Devontae Adams in February or whenever it was 2 years ago, they knew that he was getting traded.
It was essentially to maintain your right to the player.
Right.
And so that you could make a
Tyreek
transaction.
Hill situation.
And to give yourself more time.
They tagged Tyreek Hill
Right.
in March, and then they traded him in April.
That is...
Did they tag Hill? No, Hill had a year left on his contract.
Yeah.
They didn't tag Tyreek Hill.
They didn't?
That
I
wasn't
thought
a tag.
No,
That
he had a
wasn't
year left
tag.
on his contract.
Here's why there's
Not
no
even-
chance in hell that the Chiefs trade Chris Jones between now and the franchise tag next year.
March 13th or whatever it is.
No chance in hell. I'm gonna say that, and you can run this sound clip back if they end up trading him tomorrow or whatever it is.
We will.
I would hope you would.
That's going to be every
Gonna
day.
tear you to bits.
But there is no chance in hell the Kansas City Chiefs trade Chris Jones, because Brett Veach going to have to look those players in the Chiefs locker room in the eye and explain to them how you made it less possible for us to win a Super Bowl in 2023. That is what he is going to have to say. With the Tyreek Hill situation, that all went down in March and April, and Chiefs players could feel how they wanted to feel about Tyreek Hill not getting paid, or Tyreek Hill not coming back to the Chiefs or asking for a trade or whatever it was. But the Chiefs made that move in April, and then they went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster, and they went out and got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, so that Brett Veach could look the 53-man roster in the eye and say, we lost an important player, but we did our best to rebuild at that position, and we think we've got some veteran pieces who know how to play in this league, who've been contributors to good teams in this league, and we don't feel like we're going to miss a beat. And then they didn't miss a beat. You can't do that right now if you trade Chris Jones. You can't go into that locker room and say, hey, we did what we could. Well, no, you didn't. You lost the negotiation. You decided you didn't want to pay Chris Jones for whatever reason, and then you traded him. So instead of Chris Jones at defensive tackle, you have nobody at defensive tackle. There was no, if you make this trade next year, if they tag and trade him next year, then they've got from, let's say it's the same thing down the line. They tag him in March, trade him in April, whatever, or trade him in March, whatever it is. Then you've got the draft, you've got free agency, you've got all kinds of methods with which to firm up your pass rush, firm up your defensive line, find an interior pass rusher, maybe on the free agent market, maybe via another trade, sort of like they did when they traded D Ford and then traded for Frank Clark. You have the entire offseason to address it. So then you can say, yes, I know Chris Jones, who is a heart and soul player, big reason why we've got 2 Lombardis, is not here anymore. But we did what we could to replace his production. And we're going to be in a good spot. We brought in some guys we're excited about. We're going to be in a good spot there. You can't say that right now if you're Brett Veach. You absolutely can't. So that's why I don't think they're going to trade him. At the end of the day, they're going to say he's either going to play for us this year or he's not going to play for anybody else. But if he makes the choice not to walk through those doors, then you be mad at him. Then you be upset with him for making the choice not to go and try and win this Super Bowl again. But you know who you're not going to be mad at? Me, Brett Veach, because I left the door open. That's just self-preservation on the part of the Chiefs front office, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and then you want to win the PR battle. You know, hey, we tried. He's the one who's not coming to work. He's the one. And this is where they spin it, because the fans look at this as, hey, we're trying to give him a large contract. He's not willing. He ends up looking greedy, even though we don't know the back end of it. So, but this is what do you think the outcome is?
Real quick, can we, I just want to bring up something to that real quick. I think you guys are both right in that regard. But what does that matter? Like, in the end, free agents pick to go to a place because they get the most money. Like, I don't think pissing off some guys in the locker room would necessarily change the Chiefs' ability to still win in the future, especially if they win this year. Just like, you know, the Chiefs do want to win the PR battle. They want to look like the good guy in this situation. But every fan will forget about it if they win again.
Oh, yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. And I'm not trying to say that you're wrong, because I think your logic is right.
I'm not talking about the fans. I'm talking about the guys in uniform.
Well, I'm sorry. I was trying to address both points
Okay.
here.
Yeah. But
I just don't know how much they are worried about that. Maybe it's a lot. I don't know. Maybe that is the driving factor.
I think you want to have harmony in that locker room. And I think you would do a lot to deflate some of that harmony, some of that goodwill, if you say, yeah, we couldn't make it work. So he's not here anymore. And we better hope there are 15.5 sacks between Turk Wharton and this new guy we just brought in from the Raiders.
Let me ask you this. How will the harmony and, as the new kids say, the vibes go if Chris Jones shows up week 7 and he's just angry all the time?
Angry at who?
Well, he's just angry that he's got to show up. He doesn't want to. He's angry at his situation, right? He's got to play at least 6 games. That's my question.
I think that's different than what Dan's talking about, though, then, because that's not like a problem that ownership or not ownership, but management is making an issue on the players. No, I'm not disagreeing
there. My point is, though, is like
that's a Chris Jones problem.
But it's also now a locker room problem, because the vibes. What if you got an angry guy there who doesn't want to be there because the team that is supposed to give him the money is not? He knows he's got to show up for 6 weeks. You know, everybody knows why he's not there. Does that make an impact?
All right, so let me answer your other question then. I think he is going to play out the string. They are going to franchise tag him on March 13th or 14th or whatever next year, and he will be traded before the NFL draft. I think it will end up probably looking similar to, and again, I'm starting to make another Packers tie in here, but kind of like what happened with Aaron Rodgers this year. Everyone's going to know he's going to get traded. Everyone will know he's not happy with the team. The team has already, as we've been over this week, made some concessions, or at least made contingency plans. If this doesn't work, what can we do instead? It's going to be very obvious. Maybe it takes a while to negotiate. He's probably going to go to the Bears. You're going to trade him right before the draft. We move on from there. It'll look a lot like the Hill deal. Well, different circumstances
minus
getting
the tag
there,
and everything.
But it'll result very similarly to that. I do think he is going to play out this year. I think you could argue that if you were going to trade him, it makes more sense at the deadline when teams might be more desperate. But I do agree. I didn't mean to super disagree with what you're saying, because I thought the logic was totally sound. I do think he's going to play out the string with this team, though, at this year. I think he'll stay one more year. He'll play. I think he'll play somewhere between 10 and 12 weeks, 10 and 14 weeks, something like that. And then there will be kind of a handshake agreement. This is over. It'll be a somewhat mutual divorce. What do you? I don't want to be the only one.
I think
I think at this point that makes as much sense as any other possible outcome. But
I think that happens, or he gets a new contract. Those are the only two options for me.
I cannot see them trading him this year. When you are in the prime of your Super Bowl window, when Patrick Mahomes is as inexpensive against the cap as he's ever going to be again, because you got to imagine a restructure and an extension for him is coming. When you have maybe the greatest tight end of all time still doing greatest tight end of all time things, like this is the time to stack your Lombardi trophies. And I don't think the Chiefs want to do anything that is going to as dramatically impact negatively their chances of winning a championship as trading Chris Jones would be. Because even if you only get him for 8 weeks, that's still 8 weeks of Chris Jones, prime Chris Jones.
Healthy, maybe.
And if he's angry, you know what? I think he's going to take that out on opposing quarterbacks. If he shows up angry, if he shows up feeling like he's been disrespected, like he's playing for a bag next year, well, then go get it with 10 sacks in 8 weeks and go be the best player in January.
It'd be like a super contract year.
Pretty much, yeah.
Coming up next, some news from the Kansas City Chiefs, the practice squad, and an interesting practice squad addition instead of somebody else. We'll get to that next.
Just getting started on this Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan, Dan, and Jake here with you. Jake had to step out momentarily. He'll be right back. Practice squad moves being announced all over the league today, and waiver acquisitions announced all over the league today as well. The waiver claims. The Chiefs, they've named, or they are bringing back a handful of the players that they waived or released yesterday. Danny Shelton, Deion Bush, we expected that. Matt Bushman's going to the practice squad. Deneric Prince and LaMichael Pirine. I thought that might happen, although I also thought Bushman was going to make the team outright. Echo Boydo, he makes the practice squad too. Love to see that. Also, a guy they claimed and are adding to the practice squad, Darius Rush, who was a 5th-round pick for the Colts this year.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they can add him directly to the practice squad if they claim him on waivers.
Correct. He needs to be added to the 53.
Right.
Which means some other move is going to have to happen.
And that might be Nick Jones being IR'd.
That is certainly possible. But that's interesting. You found his NFL.com draft profile. Sounds pretty Veachy to me.
Yes, this is extremely Brett Veach defensive back. The prototypical like size and length for the position at cornerback, good ball skills, some technique concerns, but really good athleticism. We're talking like athletically and size-wise, very prototypical of any of the Chiefs corners you've seen them go and get on day 3 of the NFL draft. Certainly fair to think that this was a guy that Veach had his eyes on and then maybe got sniped a handful of picks early. He was projected as a 3rd or a 4th round pick by NFL.com, ended up going in the 5th round. We talk about the RAS scores, the relative athletic scores of athletes, where you get scored based on your 40 time, your size, and all the other tests you do at the combine. Rush scored extremely well.
Yeah.
His RAS score was 9.81 out of 10 with elite composite speed and great composite size. So I think it was Jim Nagy too, who's big with the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, he's their director.
Yeah, director of the Senior Bowl, who said he felt like Rush outperformed guys that he named specifically, Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams, who the Chiefs acquired, obviously, had good Senior Bowl performances. Chiefs acquired them, and they helped out as rookies. And Jim Nagy felt like Rush was better than both of those guys in his Senior Bowl workouts. So this was a player that flashed for the Colts in their camp. There are a lot of Colts fans who were disappointed that he couldn't make their 53-man roster, thought that he would. Not a lot of 5th-round picks get cut and get passed through waivers. Doesn't happen very often, and a lot of those guys end up getting claimed. And the Chiefs were able to claim this one. And I am sure I am not the first one to point this out, but if the Chiefs claim a cornerback and they were a mid-round pick, I trust Brett Veach's judgment with these guys wholeheartedly.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. A couple of other notes involving guys who are either sticking around or leaving the Chiefs. 3 players reverting to IR, most notably including Nico Remigio. Not a surprise. He goes unclaimed. He reverts to injured reserve. So he's out for the year. Nico Remigio cannot play this year, but he'll be with the team. Whatever rehab he has to do can be done at the team facility. He'll learn the playbook. I would not
It's a medical red shirt.
Essentially, yeah. I would not be shocked at all if he made the 53 a year from now. One player who is not being kept on the practice squad who the Chiefs waived, Joshua Kando. 2 seasons, 46 snaps over 3 games, 0 sacks between his pro career and his senior year of college. This is the 2nd worst draft pick of the Veach era.
They hit him with that Craig Mack, you won't be around next year.
Who I saw somebody tweet, whoever announced this, that it was Charles Goldman from KC Sports Network, who said the Chiefs have decided to go in a different direction. In professional wrestling, they call that being future endeavored. We wish them well in their future endeavors. Also,
get ready to learn the conversion rate of the Canadian dollar, buddy.
Your boy, Khalif Halasi, going to the Browns.
Devastating.
It makes sense for Cleveland, though, because he was awesome in the preseason finale against the Browns. They saw it up close and in person. The last piece of news here for the practice squad, the Chiefs are bringing a quarterback, a young quarterback, back to the practice squad. It is not Shane Buechele.
As of now.
Chris Oladokun is staying with the team on the practice squad.
You can't spell practice without FCS. How about that?
So they keep Gabbert as the main backup. Understandable. Thought Buechele would have a chance. This Oladokin would go do something else for a year. I actually can see a lot of the logic behind keeping Oladokin as your practice squad quarterback. If you have to play him, you're cooked anyway. Like, it doesn't really matter. If you were going to use him for, say, the scout team, who is going to be more valuable as your scout team quarterback when you play Buffalo, when you play Philly, when you play teams that have more mobile athletic quarterbacks? Would you rather have your scout team quarterback be Shane Buechele, who's just like young Blaine Gabbert, but worse? Or would you rather have a dude who's crazy athletic? I can actually very clearly see the logic with that, although I'm still surprised regardless. I'm stoked for my guy, FCS national champion Chris Oladokin.
I'd just be shocked if Buechele went from protected on the practice squad by the Super Bowl champs all last year, having a legit look at the backup job this year, to unclaimed and not on anybody's practice squad. That would really, really surprise me. Because I don't think he took a dramatic step back.
No.
In fact, if anything, in the games, he looked pretty good. He made some plays, looked mobile.
Awesome against Arizona.
Yeah, like I think he's a third quarterback in the league.
I just 10 for 10. Don't give me that look. He did look awesome in the game against Arizona.
I think that's an Arizona stinks look. Like, Arizona's third teamers, like, all of those dudes are going to be playing in like the fan football,
fan control football
league.
No, I'm surprised that I thought Buechele would be back and Oladokin would be, out.
Those are your latest updates. Yep. Once we know the full practice squad, we will get you that information probably in headlines later today. Right now, let's get to a quick break. We will start our AFC West previews with Michael Peterson from Bolts from the Blue of SB Nation coming up on the other side of this break here on 580 Sports Talk.
o'clock hour. One got to go. We'll also do some more Chiefs over-unders here on 580 Sports Talk. But right now, we're going to go across the AFC West this week. We're going to talk about the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. And first up is the team that has played the Chiefs tougher than maybe anybody's in the Patrick Mahomes era outside of maybe the Bengals. But the Chiefs find a way to get the better of the Chargers. And we're going to talk with Michael Peterson, covers the Chargers for Bolts from the Blue and SB Nation. Michael, how are you doing on this afternoon?
I'm not too bad, but I feel like you knew what you were doing with that opening, trying to rub it in a little bit before the introduction.
Well, the Chargers have got so much talent, and I want to ask you this question, and I do not mean this like mean or derogatory. I'm just genuinely curious because I do believe being too close to the forest to see the trees, and sometimes we get a little too close to it with the Chiefs with our red colored glasses. Do Chargers fans know about chargering and like, oh, the Chargers are going to charger? Is that something that you guys actually address?
Yeah, no, that's totally a thing within the Chargers fan base. It is probably the biggest thing for a lot of Chargers fans. It is the same thing that I think everyone who's not a Chargers fan, who's not, that close to the trees, it's all the same thing. It is a verb. It can be used to describe probably more than a verb at this point, kind of any negative existence, outcome, object that kind of circles the Chargers. I feel like that word's kind of grown and kind of has a mind of its own at this point. But no, it's as real for actual Chargers fans as it is probably for the rest of the NFL.
So going into this year, what would be, a case of the charging? Because you got another good roster. Your offense is, my gosh, you got weapons galore on the offensive side. You got one of them Bosa's. That's always helpful. Derwin James is there. J.C. Jackson didn't play well last year, but corner is such kind of an up and down position. So to me, the Chargers, again, are by far a team that the Chiefs are going to have another dogfight with them every single game. What would be kind of like a new way of charging this year?
That's a great question. And it's tough to say like new things, come up with new things that would be considered charging, because it's the old things that have really stayed around. It is the injuries. It is the blown leads. It is, some big time free agent signings that just don't seem to go their way. And they've had a lot of those things, especially in the 2022 season. They had the injuries to Rashawn Slater, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson also goes into the big-time free agent signing that didn't really pan out, at least immediately. The blown leads, well, they saved their best blown lead for the wild card round against the Jaguars. So, I mean, it's kind of all-encompassing just within last season alone. But if you look at, this upcoming season, what would be considered a big charging? Well, I think kind of how you explained that they've got players, the hype is real around this team. Well, it really starting to feel like if they don't make the playoffs and win a playoff game, that's like kind of the bar right now. Brandon Staley has improved the record from 9-8 to 10-7 in his first two seasons. 11 wins and a playoff win is the bar here for 2023. And it truly feels like if they don't reach that bar, if they find a way to blow too many games, too many injuries come up, I mean, this might be the last year for both Staley and Tom Telesco in Los Angeles.
Kellen Moore, is he going to be a big difference maker for this team, and he doesn't even play on the field?
I believe so. I absolutely believe so. I think just looking at the team's first 3 preseason games, which, again, only means so much, what you saw was a rushing offense that was committed to running the football and doing it well with a more downhill type of approach, more north-south type of cut. With the Joe Lombardi era, man, there just wasn't a lot of originality. There wasn't a lot of marrying between the pass and the run, which was a phrase Kellen Moore essentially said immediately when he came into the team, that we're going to marry the run and the pass, and we're also going to throw the ball downfield a lot further. I believe Herbert had the lowest, I think, 32nd ranked average depth of target in the NFL last season with Joe Lombardi. And the best way I can explain Lombardi, for those of you who don't remember, is that for any other team, a perfect offensive play is probably a touchdown or something similar, a big play. With Lombardi, if everything goes perfect, you got like a 9-yard drive or a 9-yard play. Like, it was just really, really rough. And so for Kellen Moore to come over, I know there was differences between him and Mike McCarthy, which led to their mutual split. But I think he's a perfect fit for Herbert to really unleash his game, his arm, and really take this offense to the place that we've kind of been waiting for the last 2 years.
We're chatting with Michael Peterson, who covers the Los Angeles Chargers for SB Nation and Bolts from the Blue. You can follow him on Twitter at ZoneTracks is his handle, as we preview everyone who is going to play the Chiefs from the AFC West coming up this year. And Michael, the way I, by the way, explained to Joe Lombardi earlier in the week is that he's a football terrorist, and that's exactly what he is. And that's what he did to Justin Herbert, because Justin Herbert should, someone who's outside of Chargers camp, outside of the facility, he should be slinging the ball all over the place because he's got a huge arm. You got the perfect vibe for that. That's the kind of quarterback we think he should be. Instead, he was forced into what I thought was one of the more boring offenses in the NFL last year. Mm-hmm. So right off the bat, what is tangibly going to change about what we see from Justin Herbert with Kellen Moore now calling the shots?
Yeah, I think right away, you're just going to see a lot more looks towards the intermediate and deep parts of the field. They went ahead and drafted Quentin Johnson, the first-round wide receiver out of TCU, because he was a yak monster, a yards after catch machine, where he could take short intermediate passes, make a guy miss and go the distance. And he also has the speed to go over the top, the body control, the size. And then they drafted his teammate, Darius Davis. Now, this is mainly a special teams move. He was one of the best return men, both punt and kickoffs a year ago. But he's going to be worked in slowly to be a part of the offense as a gadget player and as a guy, honestly, with 4.3, I think 6 speed to potentially work into a role to take the top off defenses as well. And then with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, obviously your two head starters, I think you're going to see them catch passes a little bit further down the field as well. Mike Williams has been rounding out his game, more of a bigger route tree the past couple seasons. And then Keenan Allen has been, he's solid in the short field. He can get it done on third down, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. He's got it. Now, him being able to use his skill set a little bit further down the field in the intermediate, and then using he's a very evasive guy as well. We've seen that over the years, just not seen all that much. We'd like to see him get further down the field as well. So overall, I think you're just going to see a lot more air yards at the end of the day.
I'm curious what we're going to see from Austin Eckler this year, and that is partially influenced by the fact I took him in the first round of a fantasy draft the other night, but also because he has obviously been such a key part of this offense for a long time, and he has had quite an adventurous offseason because he's been very outspoken and upset about maybe his contract situation, about the state of running back pay in the NFL, so on and so forth. So what is his role going to look like this year? I imagine it's not going to be as, a primary read running back like it seemed as though he was for a lot of the last couple of seasons. What is his role going to look like this year, and how different will it be from what we've seen in years past?
Yeah, I think it's fair to think that the Chargers want to do more of the same just because of how much success he's had, which has kind of turned the offense forward. But you have to think with Kellen Moore that they're going to run him probably a little bit more than years past. And the idea is just be more efficient with his running style, right? He's a fast guy. I think he's one of the strongest guys pound for pound on the team. And if you get him north and south and get those creases going, I think he's probably going to push for a career year rushing the football. I do have to say, I believe his receiving numbers will go down from last year. He did set the franchise record for receptions in a season by a running back, beating LT's previous record. And it's just tough to see that happening again, because if he's catching a lot of passes, it probably means they're in a lot of 2-minute situations. They're probably down in games, and the season isn't probably going as well as they would like to. But overall, I think they're going to get more creative with him as a receiver. He may not start in the backfield every single play. Josh Kelly, Isaiah Spiller showed some progression in the preseason to probably get some 2 running back looks out there as well. Because if you remember back with Phillip Rivers when he was still on the team, they had Melvin Gordon in the backfield and Eckler kind of moving around the slot and even outside catching some touchdowns. So I'd like to think they kind of understand how versatile he is, and they start putting him around the offensive formation to get him in better situations to produce for their team.
Our guest is Michael Peterson of boltsfromtheblue.com, part of the SB Nation network, the Los Angeles Chargers community. Again, that's boltsfromtheblue.com. He joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael, a lot of bold-faced names on the defense for this Charger team. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, last season's big off-season acquisition, J.C. Jackson. But the Hull was not as great as the sum of the parts last year, and some of that was certainly injury related. But what exactly did the Chargers do to try and address their failings from last year on defense? And in what way, if any, have they upgraded?
Yeah, so I think it's very fair to say that defense took a shellacking from injuries because Joey Bosa missed 12 games. They were throttled at defensive tackle behind Sebastian Joseph Day. Austin Johnson, one of the starters, missed most of the season. Rookie fifth-rounder Ochito Ogbonia missed most of the season. They had to go and sign guys like David Moa and Christopher Hinton, who a lot of casual fans probably don't know about, to really try to fill that role. At middle linebacker, you had Drew Tranquil, who had his best season this past year, but they let walk in free agency, obviously. He's now a member of the Chiefs. And in his place, they got veteran Eric Kendricks from the Vikings. And I think what they traded in terms of upside, athleticism, and youth, they got a guy with all kinds of experience, proven production, played a lot of good football in Minnesota, comes to LA to help teach and train a young linebacker group that has former first-round pick Kenneth Murray. And then on the back end, another year of Derwin James healthy is always fantastic. J.C. Jackson coming in, hopefully with a much more, bounce back mindset because, this guy, 17 interceptions the 2 seasons prior to him coming to the Chargers. He has no interceptions. He has the season-ending injury, which looked catastrophic at one point. You got to hope he comes back. And then guys like Michael Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., again, young corners that have really played a lot of good football in recent years. Everyone's kind of got to step up. They lost free safety Nasir Adderley to early retirement, which is a little bit surprising to most. But Alohi Gilman, a former fifth-round pick out of Notre Dame, coming in, looks good so far. They didn't totally add a lot of bodies. So basically what this defense needs to be to take a step forward is they just have to stay healthy. So a healthy year of Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, a healthy year of Derwin James, and the cornerback staying healthy. I think they're going to take that step forward. But again, it all comes down to health.
I think that it's a little overstated to talk about a defense's struggles against the run because that's just not how modern football works. And it's a pass first and a pass heavy league a lot of the time. So don't want to make too much of a team's struggle against the run or on run defense. But the Chargers were really bad against the run last year. And in a way that they've got to improve. Do you think that they will be improved against the run this year? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think, again, things stay healthy. I think you're going to see a natural regression to the mean. But I want to believe that the addition of Eric Kendricks is really huge in that facet. Again, with everything that Drew Tranquil did last year, Kenneth Murray still had one of the better years of his career, overall, it just seemed like if the defensive line held their gaps, everything played perfect up front. These linebackers really struggled to hold their own gaps. They got washed out quite a bit. You look at some of just the first few games, I think they allowed a 50-plus yard touchdown run in each of their first 3 or 4 games. And if you go back to look at those plays, there's always a linebacker at the second or third level out of place. And those things add up. Everyone's got to play their role. All 11 guys to the football in every single play. And really, it just came down to 1 or 2 guys just weren't there, got washed out, and it just let up these huge plays. So overall, I just think that, another year in the defense, another year healthy, will really let them take a step forward. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to be a huge leap, but anything is better than essentially at the bottom of the barrel in the NFL.
All righty. Last 2 questions we've got for you. The first one, what's the record for the Chargers this year and how far do they go in the playoffs?
That's a great question because I kind of mentioned earlier that the bar is really set at making the playoffs again and then improving on their record to 11 wins and then winning a playoff game because, everyone and their mom will tell you that they should have won it last year, but unfortunately they had to let up, 28 straight points to blow that lead. So in terms of real expectations, 10-7 feels right. It's just, again, with this team, you're cautiously optimistic. And I always say when people ask me, well, who's going to win the West? Do the Chargers have a chance? I will always tell you it is the Chiefs division until someone takes it from them. So until the Chargers do, I just can't see them doing, as well as the Chiefs, better than the Chiefs or anything. So 10-7 feels right. 11-6 would obviously be the improvement. I think they do make the playoffs, but I can't tell you I'm certain that they'll win that game just because, again, they haven't gotten over that hump in recent years. So as of right now, 10-7, make the playoffs, not sold on a playoff victory.
Michael, last thing before we let you go, from the NFL to college football real quick. I know you are a diehard Iowa Hawkeyes fan. Is Brian Ferentz going to keep his job? Is he going to get those 25 points a game he needs to keep his job?
As of right now, it sure looks like it depends on whether their starter quarterback, Cade McNamara, will be healthy for the season. It seems like he's in doubt for week 1. I do believe if McNamara starts, I think that overall they can average 25 points per game. The one thing I have is I don't think that contract, I don't think there's a stipulation or whatever he signed accounts for special teams points, accounts for defensive points. So I don't know, because with the defense and the special teams, which have been very good for the Hawkeyes, they can score points. We saw that last year with the big reason why they weren't one of the worst teams in probably the nation. So we'll see. I think if McNamara plays, they've got some good transfers. I think they'll look better on offense. No, I'm not necessarily sold the offense alone will score 25 games.
That's wild. That is at the end of the game. That's not even close. He's like, if I get this field goal, that's going to bump us up to 26
I was going to say, got to keep running
game.
up the score. Do not stop
The
scoring.
field goals at the end of the game are more important than the touchdowns. Michael, we appreciate the time. Great insight as always. Love having you on. Enjoy, waiver day today and gearing up for week number 1 coming up next week.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Michael Peterson bolts from the blue.
I love the 25 points.
I love the fact that he's like, I don't know if it counts special teams. Does that matter?
I think that counts.
Gosh.
So
it shouldn't. It's not his offense.
Is that not like
it is his dad making the rules?
Exactly. Yeah, it helps when you got your dad bending the rules and makes the
rules. They got in the Utah State in the opener.
Yeah.
I don't think Utah State's particularly good.
Yo, if they're up 35-0 in the third quarter, he's got to be putting the hammer down.
Like he's never taking out the starters.
No, you got to score
I'm sure
50 in one game, and that damn near that evens it out if you get shut out.
I'm sure he's got another FCS team or Group of 5 game. They got to hang like 50 in those.
They get Western Michigan, a tough MAC team, and then they play Iowa State, which doesn't have a roster. Maybe.
Yeah,
it's going to be the assiest El Assico of all time this year.
Yeah,
that's going to get gross,
real bad. We got a lot more to get to coming up. One gotta go. Plus, we will go around the Big 12 and Chiefs over-unders coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. And hopefully, if things go right, we'll hear from Brett Veach. He's supposed to speak today at 4 o'clock. We'll try to air that live for you on this edition of 580 Sports Talk, but to be determined. We never know when it comes to
That's kind of their thing.
I really don't know. That's all coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzynski, Dan Lucero with you. We do have Royals baseball tonight. Unfortunately, not a whole lot to look forward to because Cole Reagans pitched yesterday. Hopefully you did watch that because Cole Reagans is the second coming of Max Scherzer, apparently, which is a great development. It really is.
So he ended up with 53 strikeouts in August. Only the second Royals pitcher to strike out 50 in a game in a month. Jake, do you know who the other one was? Because I did not. This was a startling reveal to me when I found out who it was. My 2 guesses were way wrong.
Okay. Who are your 2 guesses? Like Saberhagen and Apier?
No, my first guess was Greinke.
Okay.
And then my second guess was Danny Duffy. Like maybe that month where he struck out 16 in one start. Maybe he got to 50. No, he didn't get to 50.
Okay.
50 is a lot of strikeout.
Brady Singer.
This is not Brady Singer.
August of last year.
New guy or old guy?
Old guy.
Busby.
No.
Not Saberhagen or
Nope.
Apier?
Nope.
Cone?
Nope. Too recent.
Larry Gura.
No, he struck out like 50 in a season.
I'm just now naming old dudes.
Larry Gura, like his career.
Split?
No, not Split.
Dennis Leonard.
Danny Leonard. There
Danny
it is.
Leonard.
55 strikeouts in a
Man,
month
the
in
guy almost
1977.
took deep.
That's why I knew you would come to it eventually.
Denny Leonard.
Larry Gura's baseball reference page is so funny. Like he was out there throwing puffballs. He couldn't strike anybody
That
out.
is-
And yet,
2 no-hitter Larry Gura to you, Dan.
one of the most reliable pitchers of the 1970s. If you don't believe that they were,
Where's that Busby that had 2?
yeah, Busby threw the no.
Busby threw
yeah,
the
Gura was lots of hits, like lots of contact. But one of the most reliable pitchers of the 70s.
Yeah.
If you don't believe that 1970s baseball was a different sport, go look at what Larry Gura was doing with like a 3.8 strikeouts per 9 ratio.
Yeah, he gave up 9 hits per 9 innings, and his career high in strikeouts in a single season was 113. Only one other time did he ever get over 85
In a year.
In a season.
in a season.
And he was throwing 200 innings in the season.
Yeah, the year he had 113 strikeouts, he pitched 283 innings.
That's so many innings.
As 3 point, for his career, 3.5 strikeouts per 9.
It's easy to throw that many innings when you have like 3 pitches and they're all changeups.
Hey, what's his complete games? Like 18 every year?
He threw 16 complete games that year.
That's so many. It's a different game, man. It really, really is.
The best pitcher on the American League champions that year.
Shout out to Larry Gura, but also Dennis Leonard, fantastic. So no Cole Reagans today. You have opposite Cole Reagans. Yeah, Angel or Angel Zerpa going for the Royals today. You literally are going from Denny Leonard to Larry Gura last night to tonight. So the Royals are in action tonight. I only care about can Bobby Witt get 4 home runs in 1 month. That's all that matters really to this point in time because they are losing 106 games. That is happening. Are they going to lose 115? Will they stay above the A's? I don't know, but this has been Royals talk again for this hour. So we are going to move.
We're just knocking it out. The top
Done.
of the A block.
Done.
3 minutes of Royals
Done.
talk, and then we're done with
We're done with the Royals. But Cole Reagans kicks ass.
He pitches baseballs.
And thank you, Aroldis Chapman. Shout out JJ Piccolo, doing something right. Let's get to our Chiefs over-unders. We've been doing this the last 2 weeks, and we will continue today. We are going to go with rookies today. Hey, Rook. Rashee Rice, over-under, 250 yards receiving.
Did you put that number there on purpose because that is the exact number of receiving yards that last year's rookie Sky Moore posted in 2022?
Do you want me to tell you that is why I put that there, or do you want me to give you that answer?
I want you to tell me the truth, Jake. I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth. I think you probably could. Yes. Yeah. Will he have a better year than Sky Moore last year?
I'm going to go over.
Over?
I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I think he'll be more productive than Moore was last year.
So now we've got that established. What if I put that at 350?
Under.
So you think that's right around 250 to 350 is for Rashi Rice.
Well,
I think I might still say over, but I wouldn't be super confident.
yeah, okay. I would do the same. I'd say over, but I would not bet on that.
Here's the difference for me between Rice this
Okay.
year and Moore last year. I think there's more of a defined role for Rashee Rice in this year's offense with this year's team than there was for Sky Moore with last year's group, where he's behind a guy who'd been on the team in 4 years, McCole Hardman, a guy, or 3 years, a guy who was and then two guys who were established NFL veterans. Even if they were new to the team, these were established NFL vets in Juju and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I just think there wasn't really a role that made a lot of sense for Sky Moore. And I think his usage pattern last year kind of reflected that. Like they tried to use him as the pop pass guy, and that's not really what he was in college. So I don't think they found the right role for Sky Moore last year, but I think they will find it for Rashee Rice. I think that he's got a more defined role and will have more opportunity in that role.
The YouTube comments are on the over for both numbers as well.
Okay.
Our guy Vance saying over both.
Alrighty. Over under 1.5 receiving touchdowns.
This is where I'm going to go with the under. I think as a rookie, Rashee Rice is going to be a 20-20 player. I think you are going to get your maximum value out of him playing in the wider part of the field.
Okay.
I think a lot of that yardage is going to come from yards after the catch. Not that he can't be a vertical pass catcher.
Can he catch it at the 15 and run into the end zone?
Sure, he can. Yeah.
Like that.
I don't think that's going to be what his primary
Okay.
purpose is. I think he is going to be a chain mover of a wide receiver.
I'm going to take this would be the one that I'm taking the over. I think he'll get in the end zone twice. I think 2 touchdowns in 17 games because of Dan. I am in agreement with you. There's no bona fide dudes, and the one bona fide dude in Tony is we don't know if he's going to be there. So I'll take the over on Rice and touchdowns, 1.5. I'm going to take the over.
I think I'm with Brendan here. I'll go with the under. I don't think that's going to be
okay.
Like I do think he has a defined role, but I do think that role is the bigger chunks of the field and not when you get down where most touchdowns are scored.
Now, I will say
I'm going to be excited for the multi-touchdown game that Rice is going to have this year, and I will be insufferable when that happens.
So it'll be a day ending in Y. That was mean.
That was mean.
You went 15 months bullying your co-host, and he would just be like, yes, you're right. I am worthless. I am sad and pathetic. Someone needs to come. We need to even things out a little bit.
Sometimes he would throw the flag. I did not bully Fulton. I miss Fulton.
I do too.
I miss him every day.
Every day.
I miss Fulton.
I do think there are two. There's a way that I can see him being used a lot in the red zone and in goal line situations, and also a reason why I could see him not being used there. The not is, I think you are more likely to go with your more trusted guys when you're closer to the goal line, and that's just guys who have been there longer. So I think, like I said yesterday, I think Sky Moore, is going to have a more involved role. Kelsey, obviously. The pro, though, why you could certainly make an argument against Dan and I that he will score more, is I think those jet sweeps, those orbit motion moves, I think he is going to be more adept at those right off the bat. And we know how much the Chiefs love to do the touch pass, not even a touch pass, it's more of kind of a drop pass. You just kind of toss it into the air and let him run up and catch it. I do think there's an opportunity for him to score a couple of times on those. I wouldn't bet on it, but that's I think, how he would be most effective inside the 10.
By the way, that was 15. That was the flag.
Yeah, no, it wasn't very nice. No,
you do one more and you're gone.
I mean,
the rule's 2.
No, the rule is 2. That is true. But also,
you got one. You got a yellow card.
Put that ball on a tee. You put a softball on a tee right there.
I'm the ref. Where like, who is the stand-up comedian who was like, yeah, in soccer, if you get really in trouble, they hold up a piece of paper really sternly in front of you. That's you know what I mean? Yeah.
That always looks so indignant while they do it too. They don't look at the player in the face. They just kind of hold it up.
Yeah. Over under 7.5 drops for Rice. Got to bring it up, man. He dropped 4 passes in 2 games. 7.5 seems a bit like a lot. So let's drop it.
Go under.
We'll go 4.5 drops.
We'll go under.
Yeah.
4.5 drops. And this will be considered like a legit what the stat people say in drops. You know what I mean? Like, how many drop passes does he have? We'll go 4.5.
So, and I don't have a whole list here. No one. So the NFL lead last year was 7 drops. By the way, a Chief was on that list. You know who it was?
McCole?
No, don't overthink it.
It was Travis Kelce.
It was Travis Kelce, the guy who got the most target. Yeah. Jamar Chase, Gabe Davis, Gerald Everett, Tyler Higbee, Zay Jones, Travis Kelce. But Kelce got tons and tons of targets. So
They said 7 drops?
7, yeah.
Where are you looking?
That is per Stats Inc.
Yeah, I got Pro Football Reference up. They said he had 8 drops last year.
Oh. This is a different complaint. That's why somebody needs to normalize this stat. Someone needs to take it as their own.
I know who we can do. The NFL can do that because they know what a catch is.
Sure, yeah, they can. That's the weird thing. Like,
they're the only ones.
NFL.com doesn't keep track of it. It's strange. I think Pro Football Focus grades them differently too.
Yeah.
How do you not know? Anyway, give me the under.
Okay. Alrighty. The rookie, Felix and Udike Uzama. Over under 3.5 sacks. And the reason I put 3.5 is if he gets 3, that's half of what Karlaftis did.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He's going to get a lot more reps the first 6 games with no Amenahu in there. But also, if you kind of saw Charles Amenahu play, he was really good at rushing the passer inside.
Yeah, I think they'll move him in a lot.
Yeah, like
a
in
lot.
those third down packages, I think.
Yes.
In a world where you have Chris Jones, it's him and Amenahu in the middle.
Then you put Karlaftis and maybe Udike Uzama on the edge.
Yeah.
So half of what Karlaftis had would be 3. So I put it at 3.5. If I really was going to, I hate the potential of pushes, but you can have a push at 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
You really can in sacks. So we'll do it. Over under 3.5 sacks for the K-State grad.
I am going to go with the under here. Karlaftis a year ago played 64% of the Chiefs snaps, so 730 for the year. Generated, this is per Pro Football Reference, 21 pressures, 6 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good numbers for a rookie.
Yeah.
It is hard for rookie edge players to come in and affect the passing game that much, that quickly. And I think if you're talking about ceiling for players, there's a very clear argument for Felix having a higher ceiling than Karlaftis just because of the physical athletic traits he has. But I do think George was better built to have a bigger NFL impact role right away, given where his body is already, given what he was asked to do at Purdue, the production he had when he was in college. So I don't think Felix is going to live up to that quite as much as Karlaftis did. Karlaftis, however you say it. So I'm going to go with an under there.
I'm going under 2 because I think he's DE4 and not DE3. If you look at the snap counts for defensive ends last year, it was Karlaftis at 730, so 64% of the snaps. Frank Clark at 63 or 62% of the snaps, 717 snaps. Dana at 41% of the snaps. I think Amenahu replaces Clark in the depth chart. And I think both Karlaftis and Dana, sorry. I thought in college it was Dana, but it is Dana.
It is Dana.
Dan, like your name.
Like my name. Yeah.
Mitch had to teach us that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that really threw me. But anyway, and I've been getting it wrong a long time, and I apologize for that. But it is Dana. Dana got 41% of the snaps last year, and I think he keeps a pretty similar role. There will be more snaps early for Felix with no Amenahu, but I could see his snap count only being in like the hundreds, 200s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'd be hard pressed to get 3.5 sacks out of him in that kind of. Now, that doesn't mean like I'm worried for his future or anything, or, I think this pick is a bust, or I just think he's really young and there's a lot of athletic refinement and strength that needs to be built for Felix. And I think he will benefit from only having to be DE4 on this year's team. So I'm going under for his production this year, but I still like the long-term potential.
I just think he needs to get bigger. And that's the Chiefs know that, obviously. They've said that the night he got drafted. But I think there were enough times from what we heard about during practice in training camp and from what we saw in the preseason games, there are going to be games. There's a potential for a 3-sack game this season. Like if he gets on a heater and he's got a good matchup on the edge, you play the hot hand. I could see that certainly happening this year. I also think there's going to be a lot of games he gets washed out just because NFL tackles are going to be a lot bigger than him.
So I look at it like this. How many reps is he going to get? He's not going to be over Amenahu. He's not going to be over George.
DE4 last year was Malik Herring, and he played 88 snaps.
So, but he'll get more than that because he's really DE3 right now.
Yeah,
because,
for the first 6 weeks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's gonna play. He's gonna play, I think, more than most people think because he's DE3 for the first 6 weeks.
But I don't think still that's going to get him over like 200 defensive snaps unless there's another long-term injury to somebody else.
So it's just how many reps is he going to get? And that, if he's playing on a team that has, bad defensive ends, or he's going to be number one, then he'd get over it just because of the sheer amount of attempts he's going to get. How many sacks did Dana have his rookie year?
Not off the top of my head. I couldn't tell you.
Dana,
I got it up, so you don't need to look.
Was 1.5, 2.5?
He had 2.5 his rookie year, and he didn't see a whole lot of action. All right, so that's kind of where sometimes he played in 38% of the snaps his rookie year. He got 300 snaps. Will he get that many this year? I don't think so.
Because, I don't think it'll be that
he's
high.
gonna.
The other thing, though, too, Dana was a 5th-round pick. Felix, final pick of the 1st round. Like, you would think there'd be more room for production, but I just think in the number of snaps he's going to get, that those opportunities just aren't going to be there this year for him.
And if he hits the over on 3.5, what a tremendous year, at least. And then maybe it's more so pressures. Maybe that's the number that you want to look at. The amount of pressures that Dana had his rookie year was 9. All right. George last year had, 21, I think?
21.
If he can get double-digit pressures, if he and this is all, if he plays a lot, then I expect the numbers to be up more. This is all about whether or not you can get on the field, because the Chiefs roster, they've got a lot of good.
Right. It's not a knock to be DE4 in this rotation where you've got
what if Jones doesn't play the first couple of games? Now you knock Dana down inside, and guess who's getting a lot of reps?
Yeah.
He's getting a lot more reps, but it's also easier to block.
Because the more you play, the tired you get. I understand that.
Well, no, I was just going to say because it totally changes what an offensive line's approach is and what the play calling can be. By the way, just to further the frustration I have with the drop statistic. So Pro Football Reference gave Travis Kelce. I am. They gave Kelce 8 drops last year. Stats Inc. gave him 7. I have PFF in front of me right now. Pro Football Focus gave him 6. 3 websites, 3 different numbers. How? How is that possible?
Well, one person,
he either dropped it or he didn't.
Well, somebody thinks that was a drop and somebody didn't. So it's subjective.
Does football have an official score like baseball does, where you decide whether it's an error or not?
They
should, and it should be the people who say,
standardize the stats. But then what happens is what's a drop at Arrowhead Stadium might not be a drop in Power Field at Mile High, might not be a drop at SoFi Stadium.
You guys know my stance on errors in Major League Baseball. There needs to be more of them. You're a pro, make the damn play.
Can I bring this to the conversation real quick, please?
Depends on what this is.
Which conversation?
This is Isaiah Pacheco's list of the top 5 running backs in NFL history. As he revealed on the All Things Covered podcast.
Is like Nick Chubb on there? If he is
number 1 on the list is Barry Sanders.
Like I can get that. I can. That's understandable.
Number 2 on the list is Adrian Peterson. Number 3 on the list is LaDainian Tomlinson. Number 4 on the list is Saquon Barkley. Number 5 on the list is Isaiah Pacheco.
No, I love it. That's awesome.
Okay, I love it that Isaiah Pacheco lists himself number 5. You got to have Walter Payton in your top 4, and you got to have Jim Brown in your top 4, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, Adrian Peterson. I'm sorry, LT. You are terrific. You're probably in the top 10. But if your top 5 does not have Jim Brown, Barry, and Walter Payton, you're probably wrong.
The only way that list could have been better is if he were in all 5 spots. Like Dylon.
Dylon.
Because I spit hot fire.
Okay, I get the Barkley thing because one, Isaiah Pacheco was born in 1999, which I feel old. He's a New Jersey guy. Barkley is from Brooklyn. Like, they're from the same part of the country. Local. I get it. He's also currently playing, probably looked up to when he was in school. Barry, number one, his highlights are everywhere. Adrian Peterson was the best running back in the league while Pacheco was growing up.
Yes, you could absolutely make a credible top 5 running back list with Adrian Peterson. And I think it's easier to make one with him in your top 5 than without him.
He is the best of a generation. Definitely. Because I agree. I think, personally, the top 3 running backs of all time, however you want to order them, are Brown, Peyton, Sanders. You want to put them in that order, reverse, however. Correct. That, to me, is the 3. As much as I genuinely hate Adrian Peterson, like, he is a bad person and does not deserve to be talked about highly, unbelievable NFL player.
Yes.
He's one of the few guys,
running back.
He's one of the few guys who could have jumped from high school to the pros.
Yeah,
probably.
Not a long list of guys like him, like
Herschel Walker,
Leonard Fournette, Randy Moss.
Leonard Fournette probably should have.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey.
That's real, man.
I got time out. I'm being a little mean to people today.
No, that's all right. He's not here to defend himself. I'm here to defend myself. That's why I threw 15. But and that wasn't worth it. Hey, you got one already. You get another and you're gone.
I know.
Then you get a fine coming from UPS.
It needed to be said.
If you get ejected, that's way more work for me. The second half of the show.
Yeah, that's true. You got overtime. You got 2 What Is Wrong With Yous today.
We got one gotta go coming up next, though, here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, one gotta go. And I'm going off the sports beaten path here to probably anger a bunch of people. That's all right. All right. And I'll come back to how I got to this question.
Okay.
All right. one of these gets to go. Like you can have 3 of these, but one has to go, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
That just
That
how the
is-
game works.
No,
yeah,
no,
exactly how it works.
No,
yeah.
but like for you, because these are all hypothetical.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You never have to deal with traffic ever again. Like ever again. You're driving your car. If there's traffic, you're just able to go through it.
That stays.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what the others are. That stays.
One got to go, right? So keep that. $1.50 a gallon of gas the rest of your life.
Okay.
Free oil changes for the rest of your life.
Okay.
And every time that you go, like you go into your house and overnight, your car is immaculately clean every night.
Yeah, that's gone.
That's gone.
Yeah. Don't care.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't care about the like. I care a little bit, but not that much about. I care much more about never having to pay for oil changes, gas being cheap. Although I don't mind sitting in traffic because I like driving and I like sometimes just sitting in the car listening to the radio.
All right,
listening
since
to
this
music.
was so easy for you guys, I'm gonna switch it out. Never have to pay for new tires instead of never clean your car.
Then traffic's gone because I'll take all the cheap and free stuff.
I'd punt the oil changes. I already don't get mine changed often enough, so it's whatever. That's probably not good, but
Yeah, I would get it.
I probably need
changed
to make a call
as
too.
often as
Bro.
it is recommended to get it changed.
Bro,
Recently,
bro, they literally put a sticker in your car. Look at it, look down every now and
I
then.
drive on the highway a lot. Like if I had I had to go in every single time that they told me I needed to get my oil changed, I'd live in a box.
It's every 5,000 miles.
I drive 80 a day. That goes by really quickly.
Yeah.
You're 40 miles from the station?
Roughly.
No. Really?
Yeah.
I gotta Google Maps. I don't trust you.
Okay.
Really?
Damn. Yeah.
No, that just seems super far.
It's not quite 40, but it's a little under 40 each way.
I'm gonna find out.
But yeah, I gave a list recently of the 3 things I hate the most in the world: carrots, the Minnesota Vikings, and I think terrorists was my 3rd one. Traffic might be 4th. Every time now that there's only
34 miles.
okay, there you go.
That's-
One way.
That's like traffic is still an opportunity. I can get some podcasts listen to. I can.
I hate traffic. Can't stand traffic.
How do you have traffic? Just drive forward. Just keep going. Every time, now that 70 is just one lane through downtown, every time that I can see it backing up because some doofus didn't know that they were supposed to be in the left lane so that they're not exiting,
Hold on.
I say really a lot of bad words.
Okay. You drive to work every year roughly 18,000 miles. So you should do 3 oil changes a year, man. That ain't that hard.
At least, yeah, minimum.
Yeah.
I don't.
Fred, you got a nice car. Take care of it.
It is a nice car. Rides really well.
Ricky the Rogue.
My commute is like a mile, maybe 2.
I'm 11.
Yeah, you
I
want to
think.
talk about podcast listening? I do get a lot of that done.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I never get to do that anymore.
Okay.
All right. I'm giving you Nintendo characters. We're going with like the big names of Nintendo characters here. I don't know. You guys aren't like big Nintendo guys.
Oh, it was back in the day.
Back in the day? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, never a huge
Okay.
Nintendo guy, but I'm familiar enough. Like,
All right.
You're not gonna give me a name I don't recognize.
So I will give you
Maybe.
Mario,
Ooh, yeah.
Wario, Luigi, or Yoshi. Someone's got to go.
Wario's Audi 5000.
Yeah, Wario's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but some people like bad guys. Some people like the anti-hero. Stone Cold Steve Austin was an anti-hero.
Was he?
And he was a slob too. You ever see that man drink a beer? It's all over his shirt.
But he was not an anti-hero. Well,
Yeah, he was.
He was.
yeah.
He was a bad guy who everyone loved because he was a bad guy.
But he was he a bad guy?
He was
Because-
meant to be a bad guy.
But he was the guy who went against the man.
Yeah, but he got
So he's
famous.
not good.
He got famous for a quote that insulted the Bible.
Yeah.
I look at Steve Austin as a man who stuck it to the man.
Yes, that ultimately that is what
Yeah.
it became.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's just a hero. He stuck it to the man.
The answer is Luigi. Luigi sucks.
Yeah, Luigi is like a below replacement level video game character.
Yes.
He's
Disagree
not
fully.
giving you anything.
Wario, get out of here. Now, if you said Bowser, now we're talking.
Well, I had to leave him out because he's too different from the rest of the group.
Wario, pretty nice at Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mario Tennis legend.
and he'll cheat to win. Like, yeah, I don't know. I might be doubling back. On this one. Say, yeah, Luigi's out. I don't know what
Luigi.
he's giving you.
What does he give you except being taller Mario, who's worse at things?
Luigi's like Ozzy Canseco. Like, you're only in the league because your brother's in the league.
I like
He's like
Luigi.
Thanasis Antetokounmpo.
I like Luigi because he's tall and slender, and that's what I've been most of my entire life.
What about Waluigi?
I don't even know.
He's
who that
real
is.
skinny.
I don't even know who that is.
That's like how Wario is bad Mario, Waluigi is bad Luigi.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
purple and really skinny. Skinny is like our mic stands here.
Hey, Yoshi's cool because he's a dinosaur. He's got a long tongue.
Yeah, you can ride him.
Yeah.
I like Yoshi. I like Mario. I like Luigi. Get Wario out.
Yoshi kind of sucks at Mario Kart, though.
Yoshi?
Yeah.
I used to...
Guys, they're all the same.
Wrong. Incorrect.
Absolutely wrong.
Absolutely wrong. No, what?
No.
Insane take.
No.
Unhinged
I can't
gaming
believe I'm
takes.
hearing this.
Oh my gosh. What's yours today?
They're all the same.
That's
I'm
wild.
sorry. I just saw Jake drink water out of a margarita glass.
Yeah, have you not seen him do this before?
No.
It's deranged behavior. I came in for
I
cross.
don't have a vessel right now at my area right now. I didn't want to walk all the way back to my office to get my Buc-ee's cup.
I came in here one time to do crosstalk, and he's drinking Gatorade out of one.
I don't have a vessel. There it was, right there.
Did you want that on the rocks?
If you had some ice, it would be a lot colder. Yes.
By the way, from the 785 on the text line, you can tell Jake doesn't play video games anymore. They're literally all different. Their weight makes a huge difference.
Thank you, text line.
That's why Toad is good.
False. I'll beat you guys in Mario Kart with Bowser.
From the 785 on the text line, Jake is the oldest 30-something I've ever heard.
I will not argue that. Guys, I went to bed at like 9:55 yesterday.
God. By the way, from Mark on YouTube, he wants to point out the double turn Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. That's when Stone Cold went from a heel to a babyface. Mark with the wrestling history here.
This is accurate.
One of the greatest matches of all time, by the way.
I recently read that book about Vince McMahon, Ringmaster. Really good. If you get a chance. I'm blanking on the author name, but I recently read
Heard
that.
he's not a good guy.
No,
No, Vince got problems.
Yeah, Vince McMahon might be like bottom 5 human being of all time.
He's not a good guy.
No, like he might.
He
not,
is bad guy.
Yes,
Doesn't mean he's a bad. He's a bad guy.
Yes, like legitimately not like on the screen, like
Yeah.
bad human. Like maybe not the worst person of all time, but he's in the team photo.
Did it have the burrito story in that book?
I don't remember if it had the burrito story.
He had never heard of a burrito before.
No, it does not have that story.
And someone asked if he wanted one, and he's like, I don't know what that is. And he said, don't you eat one for lunch almost every day? He said, no, I have my steak wraps every day. He just ate a tortilla filled with shredded steak and ketchup. He had no idea what a burrito was, but he ate that every day.
Yeah,
that's
he's a different cat.
Anyway, speaking of Mexican food, my one got to go today. Kinds of salsa: red salsa, green salsa, pico de gallo, and corn salsa. One's got to go.
Corn salsa, out of here! No way. No corn salsa.
Pico.
Really?
Adios. Amigo.
Really?
I like pico.
Yeah. No, Pico, get out of here. I like corn salsa.
No, Vance on YouTube agrees with you.
Yeah. Pico's just chopped up tomatoes.
Yes, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
I love tomatoes.
Well, I hate tomatoes.
Wow.
What? I have bad news for you about what red and green salsa are made of.
No, but they got a little bit more. Well, first of all, if I had to choose, I'm 1,000% team queso. If I had to choose between queso and salsa. But they don't give you free queso. They give you free salsa. But I can't just eat the chunky stuff. I like has some of the smaller chunks, more
liquidy,
less
chunky.
Yeah.
I love pico. Yeah, I'd probably say corn of those 4 is out, but I like them all like a lot. But It's a little harder to do really good corn salsa. So yeah, that's out
So
for
are
me.
you salsa over queso?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I guess it depends.
Yeah.
I'm all team queso over anything.
I would prefer queso generally, but I like salsa.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I like salsa, but if I have to choose,
I
give me
probably
give me the
would too.
cheese dip.
Text line says you've been redeemed with the Pico take.
Dang, I am surprised by this take.
Yeah, I am startled that there's an anti-Pico coalition out there.
I love tomato. I don't eat tomato on anything. I eat tomato just standing over the sink with a salt shaker in my other hand.
Freshly made Pico de Gallo, you're not beating it. I'm sorry.
Now, I will say this. I'm not going to fight, though. I'm a very old. I mean, also, I am 39. So let's not act like I'm 31 here, okay? I am 39. The next date is the big 4-0, okay? So being an old 39, a 30-year-old,
You
well,
are,
I
literally,
am.
yeah.
But I'm not going to deny that I've got some older tendencies. I have no problem with that.
It's good to be self-aware.
I get
The salsas you're not getting rid of, if only one can stay.
Oh, it's red salsa.
I'd take the red.
Yeah.
God, Pico, man. It's
Man,
the
I didn't realize you're
I'd go red, pico, green in that order.
I'd just red.
Corn though.
I like corn. I
Ejected.
get corn salsa
Tossed.
on my burritos when I go to the burrito joints.
I don't
But
get
then
down
I
with
get
corn
the
like that.
queso on top of it, and that is my salsa.
It sounds sloppy.
Then you get a water on the rocks in a fancy margarita glass.
I'll go get my Bucky's cup and bring it in here if that's better for y'all.
No,
This
you
was
can do
just
what you
here.
want. It's just weird.
It's a vessel. Doesn't matter what vessel you drink it out of.
Send us the break.
We're going to talk some Big 12 football coming up next. I've got my Bucky's cup now, guys. I don't want you to be uncomfortable.
Mark on YouTube was all for the glass. He says, "Hey, if it works, use the margarita glass."
It's a vessel. That's all you need. You just need a vessel.
Just
You guys never had in college anything but a cup party where you had to bring in anything except for a cup as your drinking vessel?
believe it or not, not really my scene.
That was not anything I was familiar with either. Not in a fraternity and not on a sports team beyond my freshman year. So the party scene I was involved with was a little different.
Okay. All right. Yeah, anything. Anyways, let's talk a little Big 12 football.
Yeah, can I get a whiskey sour in this muffin tin, please?
Yeah, you could do that. That's not a good choice to make though, because it's.
But you could get like 8 of them at a time.
You could. Are you gonna you got angled drink?
You got a whole tray of drinks.
I guess you could drink it through a straw.
You could.
Yeah. But yeah, it's anything but a cup party is what it was. All right, let's go with the contenders today. Texas, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, TCU are the 5 contenders outside of one K-State. So before K-State fans yell at me.
Yeah, y'all get more attention. Don't worry.
K-State is a contender.
Tomorrow we will just do KU and K-State.
Yes.
We will blow out previews of KU and
Correct.
K-State tomorrow. We are not including them in any of these lists.
Do one of these, one got to go. Texas, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, TCU.
TCU, I think, is going to take a step back this year, and I would not be surprised if they are closer to 500 than they are the top of the league. And I guess what it comes down to for me is I don't really believe in Chandler Morris, and maybe that's wrong. Maybe I should. But they got such high-level offensive performance last year, and all those guys are gone.
Their leading returner, both running and passing, is Amani Bailey, essentially. He ran for 252 yards, and their best wide receiver is Savon Williams. I'm with you. Their defense is going to be better, but if I had to choose one of these 3, are you on the Texas Tech bandwagon? Are you on board the Joe McGuire, George Strait train?
We haven't had this conversation. We haven't had a chance, you and I, Jake. But yes, I am all in on Joey McGuire.
You like Joey McGuire?
I like Tech this year to be very good. I like Tech long-term to be one of the regular contenders in the Big 12. I think I'm still a year short of keeping them in the league title contending group. Like I think this could be an 8 or 9 win team this year. I just don't know if they yet have a championship contending roster. I think they still might be a year short of that. Whereas TCU, even though they lost so many guys from last year, and again, a lot of it depends on what you think of Chandler Morris, I think that they have just been recruiting at a higher level. I think they've got more blue chip talent on that roster. I don't really buy either of them as a serious league contender. I think that's a 3-horse race with UT, Oklahoma, and K-State. But I can at least see an argument for why you'd keep TCU over Tech, just because I think if you base it on the blue chip ratio, if you will, I think I would lean with the Frogs.
We're going to learn a lot about TCU in their opener against Colorado, I think. For one, it's going to have a major national audience. Like, that is going to be, there going to be a lot of eyeballs.
That's Big Noon.
Yeah, on Big Noon Saturday.
Big Nude.
Probably
Big Nude Saturday.
Not for them so much as obviously for Coach Prime's chemistry experiment in Boulder. But we're going to learn a lot about TCU. They are favored by 3 touchdowns in that game. They're 20.5-point favorites.
Oh, man. And for people who are like, wow, Colorado was buns last year. They were so bad last year.
Yes, and I know it's an entirely new roster.
Yeah.
And they've got some skill guys that I think are legit. Like Travis Hunter, preseason first-team All-American. Shader Sanders, I think, is a good quarterback. I think he will be a good Pac-12 quarterback this year. They got some other skill guys. Like, it sounds like Dylan Edwards, the kid from Derby, is going to play right away. They got speed. They got some good defensive backs. Naturally, you'd think Dion could recruit some defensive backs to go play for him. But there is a football term. I love when football coaches use this term. It's very descriptive. And I think it describes Colorado really well this year and why they're going to have trouble. They are, as a football man might say, light in the ass. They got nothing up front.
They're all fur coat, no trousers. Like, they don't have it up front. I'm with you.
And I think that if they suffer some injuries in the trenches, I mean, they'll be roadkill. So We're going to learn a lot about TCU right away in that game. I think they'll win it at home. Then they got Nichols, who they'll beat. Then they go to Houston for the conference opener. They should win that. They should beat SMU in the final skillet game. And they should beat West Virginia. And they should beat Iowa. I mean, they'll be 6-0, hosting BYU, and could beat them too. I mean,
yeah, I think it's possible.
Yeah, this is a schedule that sets up for them to be 7-0 coming to Manhattan on the 21st of October. College game day?
Texas
should be.
Texas Tech, because I do. I like Joey McGuire. I think we're going to know a lot more about Texas Tech week 2 because they'll beat Wyoming. They got Oregon week 2, and that is at Lubbock. I think that's a big game.
Yeah, I would say so.
Because then they go, their schedule is not difficult. They don't play Oklahoma. They don't play Oklahoma State. They get their first 3 games in the Big 12, West Virginia, Houston, Baylor. Not exactly murderer's row.
They could win all of those.
Exactly.
This is my big question for Texas Tech for this year. Because, again, I'm with you, Brendan. I'm in the tank for Joey McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think their long-term outlook is really, really good. This is my question. Were they good last year or were they just lucky? Because they won a whole lot of one-score games. And look, sometimes you win a one-score game and it reveals like your character, your toughness, all those things. But it can also be just the ball bounced your way. So are they good or were they just lucky last year?
Were they the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah. I guess that's one way to look at it. I think they're a little tougher, made of sterner stuff than the Vikings were last year. I think Tech win 8, maybe 9 games. I'm more along the lines that they were good, not lucky. But yeah, TCU. You know, I'm as down as I am on replacing all that offensive production. They should still be undefeated going to Manhattan. And then they got, after a bye, they go to Lubbock. They've got Texas and Baylor at home. They go to Oklahoma. That could go from 7-0 to 7-5.
They had 9 games that were decided by a single possession, 8 points or fewer. They went 6-3.
Like the field goal against Baylor, they just ran it out. The guy didn't even step it off.
That was TCU.
Oh, I thought you were talking about TCU.
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Tech.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that would be worrisome. But I think you could also argue this is another year of consistency and continuity in this system, a year of continuity with some of these players. And ideally, they are going to have one quarterback this year, which I think would do wonders for them instead of, here's Tyler Shuck, and here is Donovan Smith, and here is our third quarterback we have to put in there. Like, if Shuck can play at least most of the year, I think that'll do wonders for them.
So we've discussed TCU, Texas Tech. We know Texas has the most talent.
On paper, they should win the league. I think that is a fair thing to say.
I want to know more of what people think about Oklahoma. Oklahoma catches a huge break. They don't play K-State. That is a huge break for Oklahoma because they don't want anything of the Fighting Climates. They really, really don't. Oklahoma's schedule is very nice. Their non-conference schedule is buns, Arkansas State, SMU, Tulsa. But their first 2 games, Cincinnati, Iowa State, jokes, right? Then UCF, Kansas. And then they finish with Oklahoma State, West Virginia, BYU, TCU. So their schedule,
it sets up for them to go about 10-2, doesn't it?
It does. That's my point about Oklahoma.
This team's record will be better than they actually are as a team. I am certain of that. I'm also not a Dylan Gabriel guy. I think Dylan Gabriel peaks at fine.
They're a lot bigger in the trenches this year. That's going to be a big help for them. They've beefed up kind of in the way that those Clemson defenses got real big in the trenches and offensively too. But like the beef wasn't really there for Oklahoma last year. It is this year. That'll make a difference. Another year, Gabriel in the Big 12, I think makes a difference. I'm not super high on him either, but I do think he's decent and got plenty of skill guys. They'll figure it out. That does. It feels like a 10-2 schedule if they're really Oklahoma and if Brent Venables isn't actually bad at this, which, boy, I hope he's not bad at this because I don't think he gets a year 3 if year 2 goes like year 1.
I think that they're going to be, by the way, Jaron Kanik, the Hayes kid, going to start at linebacker.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Incredible athlete there. I think Oklahoma will beat everybody but Texas on their schedule. I think they're going to end up, they're only going to lose 1 game.
See, I just don't trust this team's skill players. Like I don't know that Venables is good. I don't know that their offense is going to be good enough with a quarterback who I think is relatively mediocre. Like the schedule sets up nicely, but I think that is still through the viewpoint of, well, it's Oklahoma.
They're Oklahoma.
It's Oklahoma. Of course it sets up nicely.
More so the name on the jersey than anything else.
Like I think this is a 7-5 team that might end up with 9 or 10 wins because they ended up with the easiest schedule in the league.
I got you.
Like I think they could lose to a number of teams on this schedule. They won't, but I think they could.
I'll hedge. You call them 9-3.
Yeah, I think they finished third in the league.
57.
I think it ends. Well, they don't play K-State, so they might end up finishing second because they don't play the Cats.
Yeah, as I said, it's a break. That is a break.
Huge break.
It
It
really
sucks
is.
too.
I hate it. Big eight till I die. Coming up, we're gonna hope we get Brett Veach. They're supposed to speak at 4:00 here, but we all know that is a hit or miss on when they're gonna do it. So we'll get to Brett Veach coming up next year on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 3 on this Wednesday. Jake LeBon, Brandon Dorzinski, Dan Lucero with you. Thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate you hitting us up on the text line as well as our YouTube comments. If you want to watch the show, stream the show, you can head to our website, 580www.com. You can go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. Very simple, very easy if you want to interact with us. Right now, we are, no surprise at all, waiting on Brett Veach, and not just Brett Veach. I feel like I'm singling out Brett Veach here. It's just the Chiefs' lack of punctuality.
We're on one Arrowhead drive time right now with these guys,
which is not a standard time. Like, my wife is 10 minutes late to everything. Like, everything.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love her to death. She is, one of my favorite people in the world.
One of.
Well, I got 2 kids. I love one of my three.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you mean? One of my favorite people. I got 3 of them.
Okay.
Right.
That's a much better way to phrase it.
Yeah. One of my favorite.
I
people.
was just a little concerned.
No.
I thought you were like, yeah, it's my wife.
No,
Patrick Mahomes.
No. No.
My buddy Carl.
I don't have a friend named Carl. No, I don't. No, but like she'll admit it. I'm not saying anything that she won't admit. Like, yeah, I'm a little, 10 minutes late to a lot of things. So, but the Chiefs, they could be 5 minutes late, they could be 20 minutes late. That's just Chiefs.
That's what they do. Andy Reid every week for his press conference.
They never start on when they're supposed to. Like, sometimes they start early. That's a very rarity, but they never start when they say they're going to start.
Do they ever start early?
Oh, yeah. Like the Friday of the last day of camp, they started early because practice ended early and they wanted to get out of St. Joe. Started early.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to Brett Veach when Brett Veach's get toable. We also have What Is Wrong With You this hour.
And Tim Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to game week.
It is.
Cats.
Wildcat game week. At home, Missouri State, not Missouri State, Southeast Missouri State.
That is
both KU and K-State have a Missouri FCS school this week.
That is head coach Tom Matukowicz led Southeast Missouri.
He's a Kansas boy.
Yeah.
Where's he from? Do we know?
Silver Lake.
Yeah, Silver Lake guy. How about that?
I think that's right.
I think Matukowicz, Silver Lake guy.
He
was the DC for NC State for a while.
All right, so he was born in St. Joe, played at Hayes, and then was an assistant at Hayes, Pitt, Coffeyville, and Emporia State. Man, this man hates Washburn. I don't have anything about where he actually grew up, though.
Maybe not.
So, I mean, he was in Hayes. He's been to Hayes, Pittsburgh, Coffeyville, and Emporia. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, he has been to those places in Kansas.
I think Sports in Kansas tweeted about him earlier this week, and that's why I vaguely remember this information. I'm going to scroll.
Yeah, I know he's the head coach there.
Yeah, played at Silver Lake, class of 92.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He was a Silver Lake guy.
92, he probably would have won a state championship at some point.
And his defensive coordinator went to Wichita South. Ricky Kuhn, another Kansas kid.
How about that? The new cradle of coaching is Kansas. It has surpassed Northeast Ohio.
What city is SEMO in?
It's near.
It's southeast
Cape
Missouri.
Girardeau.
I don't know. No, it is.
It is in Cape Girardeau.
It is Cape Girardeau. Yeah. I drove through that on the way home from Tennessee. Yeah.
Today I learned it's pronounced Girardeau and not Girardeau.
Girardeau.
Legitimately, guys. I thought it was Cape Girardeau all my life.
All right.
Girardeau.
Yeah, so you emphasize the D then.
Yeah.
Girardeau. That's probably more accurate for the original French, if it means anything to you.
That's probably where I got it from. My extensive knowledge of the Romance languages, yes.
When Brendan went abroad, he did go to France.
I did. I went to a couple different places in France.
Did you go to Nice?
I did not go to Nice. I went to Marseille. I went to Cassis just for an afternoon. Paris. Yeah.
Did you go see the Eiffel Tower?
I did see the Eiffel Tower. I didn't go all the way to the top. It was like a 3-hour wait to get up there.
I was like, what, are you scared?
Well, I was terrified, but I didn't even have...
Are you a heights guy?
Yeah, I don't like heights.
So you didn't go up to the, what tower is it called now in Chicago? The Willis Tower.
I have been to the top. I've never been in the box.
You never been where you can walk across the edge and you can see down?
Yeah, I wouldn't feel very good doing that. I have not been in that building since they added that on. But I have been to the sky deck. I have been to the very top.
Yeah, I'd go to the top floor, but like out on the ledge, nah, man.
I have been to the Empire State Building. I've been outside on the.
I've done that too.
Yeah, but you're like pretty secure.
Well, yeah. The other thing too is like if the fence was here, I was up against the wall. It's like, no, I can see plenty from here.
Yeah. I'm in no danger of falling, getting caught by a gust of wind, anything like that.
Yeah. So no, I did not get to see all of Paris from the very top, but I also wasn't going to wait that long. I got things to do. This is like the traffic thing. I got places to be. I got things to do.
Lately, French food has been a topic on social media on the former Bird app. A lot of people talking about that cuisine is better in France than it is in the United States. And I saw somebody put forth the argument that French McDonald's is better than American McDonald's. Can you confirm or deny?
It's got a more varied menu. The quality of the food is better. I learned this actually in Italy when they built McDonald's in Italy.
If you went to a McDonald's when you were in Italy or Paris, I'm going to be so mad at you.
I have been to a McDonald's in London, in Dublin, in Stockholm, in Paris, in Rome.
If they've got better McDonald's over there than they do here.
I did McDonald's around the world. No, I did try it.
Well, my point is go eat the local fair food. Stop by like Jim's Deli or something.
Well, I didn't say like, oh man, I could go get a 3-star fine French meal, but you know what? I'm going to go get McShrimp instead. No, I went at like 3. That is a thing. That I went at like 3 p.m. and was like, yeah, let me get a burger. Let me get like a McFatty or whatever you're serving.
I did see that Australia's got what they call at their McDonald's the Big Brekkie Burger.
Yeah.
Which is like an Egg McMuffin part and a hash brown and bacon and barbecue sauce on a Big Mac. And let me tell you, I would demolish a Big Brekkie Burger. Like, I would violate the Geneva Convention.
I would just rather go to like a local mom and pop joint than go to McDonald's when you're,
Well, I did, but I wanted to see what, my experience versus the international experience was like. Some were better than others. In Sweden, they had wings, which were not good. Swedish McDonald's was not good. I will tell you that. They had strawberry cream pies. No, don't bring those to America. Those can stay in Scandinavia. It's also, I'm sorry, Brett Veach, what are you doing?
Seriously, Brett, come on, man, take the podium. Unless they are dotting I's and crossing T's on a Chris Jones contract.
Remember that's what it wasn't. They weren't signing. That's when, remember he was late a couple years ago when they were making a trade or something. I remember that. Was that the Frank? No, that would have been Frank Clark. That was too long ago. But I remember he was late to the podium for something like this. And the reason why, because they were making a trade.
The only thing I can remember is when a bunch of people from the Chiefs front office were buying champagne when they signed the Mahomes deal. And a woman who worked at the liquor store tweeted, hey, I just saw all these people who work for the Chiefs. I think they just signed Patrick Mahomes. And they did.
Yes. Yeah, she beat Schefter to the news.
Awesome.
And she's still trading on that bit of internet fame.
Good for her. Yeah,
I would too.
In fact, he had her like on his podcast or something like that.
Like they did a whole Sunday NFL countdown segment. In fact, I am in the waiting room, and it looks like we might know we have. Nope.
Let's go to Brett Veach finally.
Momentarily, we will go to Brett Veach.
It's on, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Here, let's see if let's see if from here we will be able to get this figured out. We will indeed get you Brett Veach momentarily, folks.
This is our quality control promise.
Yeah, this is when you have a 3-person crew and they are all on a microphone at the exact same time. Sometimes this happens. All right, I've also got an ad here real quick.
There we
We got him.
So those are some of the highlights from the live feed of Brett Veach speaking to the media just moments ago and just finishing up now. Know that there was maybe at a point a slight issue with some of the audio coming through on the stream or on our live stream through YouTube. If there was an issue with that, you'll get a chance to rehear the feed from Brett Veach coming up in 580 Sports Talk Overtime today. We'll re-rack that. So if you missed any of those notes, you'll be able to hear them at the top of the hour right back here on 580 WIBW before Royals baseball tonight. Real quick, anything that really stood out to you from what Veach had to say?
Sounds like more communication, but not necessarily productive communication would be my read of the Chris Jones situation based on what I heard.
Yeah, that's sort of how I was feeling.
More communication, good. Like
yeah.
The lines of communication seem open, positive, maybe not productive to this point.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. What is it, the line? You miss all the shots you don't take, something like that. You can't get to a deal if you're not talking. So that is good. The fact that it was so vague and open-ended, though, about what they're actually working on, that's got me worried a little bit. We will talk more about what's going on with Chris Jones coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Right now, we've got a break to get to. We still have Tim Fitzgerald later this hour, plus What Is Wrong With You coming up next here on 580 Sports Talk. Our winner for the week so far in What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by Top City Metal Supply, is the guy who told on himself, who was maybe kind of running a drug ring out of his home.
I don't think it was a maybe kinda. I think that's exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, called the police about a break-in and a burglary. There was no sign that there was any such thing, and then the police found $25,000 worth of fentanyl and several $1,000s worth of other pills and paraphernalia on the floor of his home. And he said, "Oh, I got a prescription. I can't show it to you, though." That's not going to get you off with the police. We do have two new stories today. However, want to remind you that Top City Metal Supply does sponsor What Is Wrong With You, and they cut the metal you need to your specifications, which saves time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to metal at Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard. Dan, you are up first today.
All right, so everybody's probably heard this story by now, but I could not, in good conscience, let a week of What Is Wrong With You go by without taking us to Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago.
Talking about the White Sox, am I right?
Yeah.
Hey.
What is wrong with you? How about the White Sox entire season is a what is wrong with you? But no, the other night, two women were shot during the fourth inning of the White Sox game against the Oakland A's. And then after that, they still had to watch the White Sox and the A's play. Hey-o! Hi-o! One woman grazed in the stomach, the other taking a bullet to the leg. How in the world do you get shot at a baseball game? Well, folks, one of the women who was shot brought the gun in and accidentally discharged it. Well, how do you get a gun into the baseball game? It's a hard thing to do. They got metal detectors all over the place. Well, she snuck it in the folds of her belly fat. After reports circulated on social media of an alleged shooting, police confirmed late on Friday night 6 were indeed shot during the game. In section 162, live rounds were recovered. The victim who took a bullet to the leg was in fair condition. Play was not interrupted. They just played on while two people got shot in the stands, but they did cancel the post-game Vanilla Ice concert, which people were upset about because if you went to White Sox A's in August 2023, chances are you were more interested in seeing Vanilla Ice's post-game concert.
Yeah, that is probably true.
So, woman just had to have the heat on her at the baseball game to the point where she jammed it somewhere in her stomach. I saw somebody, I don't remember who, on Twitter refer to it as congealed carry last night, which is gross.
Yeah, it's very nasty.
But, like, you do not need your gun with you that badly.
No,
Like, I know that Guaranteed Rate Field is not in the nicest part of the second city.
That's true.
But I still don't think you need your gun on you that bad if you're going to a White Sox game.
You do not need your piece on you at a baseball game.
No, you do not need to tuck the blicky in your stomach. And then bad things happen.
The need to, like, if you have to hide it that badly, it's probably not a good idea to have it.
Yes.
That would
like
be
if
my
you have
tip.
to go to those lengths to conceal it, you do not need it.
We do also have gunplay in my story today where robbers were fed up that employees of a Roxborough, Pennsylvania, it's a Philadelphia neighborhood, Wendy's, did not know the combination to the safe in the restaurant. So the robbers shot the safe.
Oh, God.
They only made off with a few $100s from the registers because, believe it or not, safes are bulletproof in a place like that. This happened just after 1 a.m. Now, you might know, wow, Wendy's, that's late. You probably can't get in there at that time. Drive-throughs open, though, folks.
Yeah.
Open till 2. So a group of people in a 2010 dark-colored Nissan Murano, they're still looking for these folks, by the way. Well, they drove into the drive-thru. 2 folks with guns got out and entered through an ajar rear door of the Wendy's. They demanded that the workers empty the registers and then that they open the safe in the manager's office. However, the employees did not have the combination to the safe and were unable to open it. The offenders then shot the safe in an unsuccessful attempt to open it. Thank God they only shot the safe, not the people.
Again, solving problems with your gun, bad idea.
They did get away with the money that had been in the registers, which, having worked in fast food service before, it wasn't that much, guys.
Yeah,
I guarantee you.
Wasn't worth it.
Juice was not worth that squeeze. Police are still looking for the burglars at large. They shot it. It's like the guys who shoot, well, this isn't quite as bad as people who shoot, like, tornadoes. And like, I'm going to take it down. No, but this is pretty dumb. It's just going to reflect and damage something else, possibly you. All right, the gun in the fat wins.
Yes, blicky at the ball game, absolutely.
That story makes me so mad that I'm going to vote for our reigning champion because I get it. It is a true, pure what is wrong with you. It just makes me so mad for so many reasons.
Yes, very, very upsetting story for a lot of reasons. I still like the guy who may have been so drug-addled that he called police and welcomed them into his illegal drug.
25 grand in fentanyl. Hey, check this out.
I have been waiting for you. He should have just said, hey, guys, welcome. Just go ahead and arrest me.
Welcome to the party.
Let's save some time and go ahead and cuff me right now.
That is still our winner in What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Let's get to a break, and we'll get to Tim Fitzgerald next on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up here, hopefully in just a moment, we will have Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com, on the phone. GoPowerCat, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Fitz, the publisher of GoPowerCat. It is K-State game week. Of course, you'll be able to listen to K-State versus Southeast Missouri State coming up on Saturday night. 6 o'clock kickoff. That means 4 o'clock pregame on the Sports Voice of Kansas right here. Your home for Wildcat Athletics, 580 WIBW. And we'll preview the game in full with Fitz as soon as we are able to get him on the horn. We talked about this a little bit with Michael Swain yesterday when it came to KU and who are some of the players that you'll get a chance to see in week one? Because now with the red shirt rule, which I kind of forget has been around for a long time now. Still remember Jalen McCleskey. Remember him from Oklahoma State, who suddenly just dipped from the Oklahoma State program and entered the transfer portal after 4 games, didn't play the rest of his year there, and said, hey, I redshirted. I played the 4 games. That was a while ago now. Anyway, with that rule and with teams being smarter about using guys in that rule to their advantage, you get to see in these kinds of matchups players who you might not normally see a whole lot during the regular season get some initial action on the field and actually play a little bit. And I think there's a number of guys that I'm curious to see, and Fitz, I'm sure, has a number as well. And again, we'll get Tim Fitzgerald on the line here as soon as we can. The number one guy for me, and I know this is really a low-hanging fruit answer, is Avery Johnson. Because right now it seems as though it is kind of open what the competition is going to be in terms of the backup quarterback behind Will Howard. We know Will Howard is QB1. And like we have talked about before, maybe it's a situation sort of like last year where it's starting quarterback is nailed on. Jake Rubley is your single game backup. And if it is long-term, maybe it ends up being Avery Johnson. Maybe it's flipped the other way. Maybe Rubley had a good enough camp that you want to keep him as the option if you need a long-term backup should Will Howard not be able to go for a sustained period of time. But I want to see Avery Johnson in this game. SEMO, not a bad FCS team. They made the postseason last year, but I'm really tempted to see what he's got in his, first eligible season with K-State. Rubley was a big prospect too when he committed, and I don't mean to say that he can't be anything. I don't think he's going to finish his career at K-State, but I at one point said the same thing about Will Howard. I thought there was no chance he was going to stick around after the first 2 years he had with the program.
The thing that hurt Rubley, he didn't really get a senior year of high school.
Right.
He was a COVID kid and didn't get a senior year of high school. I think he transferred, actually.
He did, because he was in
Colorado.
Colorado. Did not get to play because they shut down high school football. So he transferred to a school in Iowa, but then wasn't deemed eligible to play.
Right. And so I think that probably set his development back a little bit. So I think you have to kind of temper your expectations for him and kind of almost move his clock back a year based on, what you would expect him to be with this many years in the program. He's probably a year behind that, which is unfortunate for him, but makes it also fortunate that Will Howard has become what he's become.
Yeah, I mean, it's genuinely incredible. And I mean that in a positive way. It is an awesome story for Will Howard, what he has become, and having a legitimate argument for being the best quarterback in the Big 12. Because you heard me, if you've been listening to 580 Sports Talk for more than a year, you heard me say some not extremely optimistic and positive things about Will Howard's game, but he proved me wrong. He has grown into an incredible quarterback. Real tight haircut now. That's one of those Johnny Unitas, you can set your watch to that haircut kind of looks that Will Howard is sporting now. So we'll talk about Will again. We're still trying to get Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com on the line here. We'll get to the Wildcat wrap-up as soon as we can. The start of this season for K-State, I think, is somewhat, I don't want to say fascinating, because I think that sort of overplays how I feel about it, but they should be at least... They should be 3-0 through non-conference play. They should whoop up on SEMO this weekend. They should beat Troy. And even though they have to travel to Columbia, I think Kansas State should beat down on Missouri. I am not buying stock in Missouri this year. Any team that is not going to tell you who their quarterback is, I don't have a whole lot of faith. And I've seen some of those Mizzou quarterbacks play who are going to get some action to start this season. No good. No bueno. So I'm not worried about Missouri when K-State gets there in a few weeks. The Big 12 schedule, though, it is not going to be a cakewalk for K-State this year. When we previewed Oklahoma and some of the contending teams earlier, we talked about how easy their schedule is. Big 12 play starts for K-State. UCF at home. That should be at least tough. Oklahoma State, that's in Stillwater, even though I'm not high on the Pokes this year. Tech in Lubbock on October 14th. Then they get that huge game against TCU on October 21st. That is not an easy stretch, but I think if K-State can get through there with no more than one loss, you're still looking at a legitimate Big 12 title contender.
Yeah, they don't have any layup road games, right? Like everybody they play on the road is a real team. They got to go to Oklahoma State. They've got to go to Texas Tech. They've got to go to Texas. They've got to go to Kansas. Like those are all real teams. So no layups there. And yeah, that could be tough.
So the intrigue here to me is that first stretch. The TCU game, I think, is going to be especially interesting. Then you get to the back part of the schedule where you get Texas, Baylor, Kansas all in a row. And Texas, that's on the road in Austin. That is going to be a challenge. Baylor is at home in Manhattan, and you have to go to Lawrence. And I would, right now, before the season, I would pick K-State to win that game. But rivalry games are difficult, and this is a different, hopefully for my sake, Kansas kind of program. So I am interested in I don't know. I think that backstretch of the season is tough. This is not a cakewalk for K-State. I think K-State and KU have two of the tougher, albeit still doable schedules in the Big 12. So we will have to see. And again, we're trying to get Tim Fitzgerald on the phone here for today's edition of the Wildcat Wrap-Up, brought to you by Azura Credit Union. And again, you'll hear K-State football coming up on our airwaves on Saturday. This weekend of college football, it's a little disappointing. We haven't had of week one that is this barren with true marquee matchups in quite a while. I mean, you've got some brands that are going head to head, like TCU versus Colorado. That's a matchup of real brand name teams. But I don't know. I mean, how jazzed are you by Virginia at Tennessee? I mean, I'm not really feeling like that is the best possible option here. But our best possible option has now joined us. We are now joined on the phone by the one and only Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com. It is the Azura Credit Union Wildcat Wrap-Up. Fitz, how are you doing on this Wednesday?
I totally lost track. I didn't even know it was past 4. Working away.
It's a busy week. It's game week. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, by the way,
I know.
Fitz, I wanted to give you a chance here as we bring you on. I know you guys at Go PowerCat are going to do a ton more video YouTube stream stuff with, us as YouTube streamer extraordinaires. Very intrigued to see this. But I know you guys at Go PowerCat are doing a ton over on your YouTube channel for football previews this year.
Exactly. That's one of the things I've been really busy with today. I've always recorded my pregame podcast that releases on Thursdays on Wednesday. But this year we're doing it on video, so it's layered in a little more work. And, first time out, you got to figure out exactly if you're doing it right. So, yeah, we're going to have that up on the YouTube site. It'll still appear on the podcast network, so everyone will still have access to it if they just want the audio, because I know you can't take my looks. I know some of you find me highly attractive. Some of you find me hideous. So maybe you just want to listen to the audio only. On Mondays, we're going to do a revived podcast called The Insiders. We've got a whole new crew of people going to be on it. That will be on YouTube and our podcast platform. Of course, we already have the walkthrough and the daily deliveries and a bunch of other stuff. I feel like I'm forgetting another one. But, yeah, we've got all kinds of programming we're going to be doing on our YouTube channel. Of course, it appears at Go PowerCat, and all of that, not the daily deliveries, but all of our shows will also be on our podcast platforms. Really fun. It's fun to do new stuff, even for this old dog.
Well, we can't wait to see all of it throughout the season. We'll be watching and listening to every single episode. First game for K-State coming up on Saturday. They're taking on SEMO, a good FCS team, but still one that K-State should, in my opinion, handily knock off. But the most intriguing thing to me about these FCS games, Fitz, with the redshirt rule, with the 4 games that everyone's eligible to play and still keep your red shirt, is who are some of the guys who are going to play in this game who you might not see when we get to the Sunflower Showdown, or we get to Texas, or we get to the Baylor game or whatever later on in the year? Who are some of those guys you're going to be keeping an eye out in this game who we might only get to see a couple of times this season?
Well, here's what's interesting. I asked Coach Kleiman about this at Tuesday's press conference, and someone did a great job following up with asking about if it, approach to redshirting has changed. He hasn't talked to a single guy about redshirting, even ones that he believes, like at least right now, they're going to need some more physical development of their linemen or whatever. They're going to go into this game. I think we're going to see a lot of freshmen, maybe more than 5 true freshmen play on Saturday. And they do carry that ability to go ahead and redshirt if they play 4 fewer games. I think he's just going to play who needs to play. In this era of the transfer portal, of guys going to the NFL, of all the other things going on, just play your guys. And maybe an injury will present itself later on that they'll need the redshirt for. And they love this class. When Joe Klanderman says there's 8 to 10 true freshmen that could play on the defensive side of the ball this season, that tells you that they love this class because it's not like there's gaping holes on the defense. They've plugged everyone in, and they feel like their frontliners are good, but they've really been surprised by how effective these freshmen have been, and it is something I'm going to keep an eye on Saturday, starting with Avery Johnson, a quarterback. We now suspect he might be truly the backup quarterback as a true freshman.
Our guest is Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com, joining us for the Azure Credit Union Wildcat wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz joins us every Wednesday on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline to discuss all things Cats. Check out him and his staff at GoPowerCat.com and find Fitz on Twitter at Life of Fitz. Southeast Missouri State is the opponent on Saturday, and as an FCS team, there would certainly be an expectation. Kansas State heavily favored to take care of their business and go to 1-0. But in what ways will this SEMO team challenge Kansas State? In what ways can they test them that will be valuable to maybe learn a little something about the Wildcats on Saturday?
Well, we've been told that this might be the best team in SEMO history, and SEMO is a pretty consistent playoff school. I mean, they get into that FCS playoff on the regular. They were there last year. You know, this might be a Final Four caliber team at the FCS level. We'll see how the season plays out. Anytime you're playing an opponent that knows how to win and is confident, I don't care if it's at the FCS level, in the Sun Belt, Mountain West, as long as you're playing someone that has a great identity, they know who they are, they know who they need to be on game days, and they've seen a lot of close games fall in their favor, you've got a chance to lose. We saw it last year with Tulane. That was a confident team, even though they hadn't had a great record the year before. They came into Bill Snyder Family Stadium and played a great football game and won. I don't think we're going to see K-State fall into that trap with an FCS opponent simply because of the background of this coaching staff, starting with Chris Kleiman, so many coming from that FCS level. Nobody's sneaking up on them. They did it to a lot of other programs, including K-State when he was at North Dakota State. And now I think he's going to have the guard up enough where that won't happen with K-State. But this is a good team. Quarterback, they got some serious players. And I think it'll be entertaining. This is a really challenging non-conference schedule. Starting with this and going up to Troy next weekend, which is an outstanding football team out of the Sun Belt, and then finishing up with Missouri, which sees great competition in the SEC. So I'm excited to get this thing going.
Fitz, I am fascinated by the wide receiver / tight end, the pass catchers for this year's Kansas State team, because they lost a lot of production at that position from last year. Give me your best guess in order, the top 3 in terms of receptions for Kansas State this year.
I will go with Keegan Johnson, number 1. Probably Phil Brooks 2, and you know what? I'll do Ben Sennett 2, and then Phil Brooks 3. I think Keegan's going to be the main go-to guy. Everyone talks about combination of good route running and speed, and how he's just kind of fit right into the offense. And I think we'll see the ball go even more to Sennett. He proved himself so reliable over the second half of the season. He and Will Howard have a great connection. I think the passing game is going to be just fine. And maybe, I don't know, maybe, Ward or Giddens, maybe combined, end up being just as big a threat in the backfield as Deuce Vaughn was.
Fitz, how many position groups for this K-State team entering the year, and maybe we'll revisit this halfway through the season when we've seen a little bit more action on the field itself, but going into this year, how many position groups do you think K-State has that you could argue are the best in the Big 12?
That's a great question. Certainly the offensive line has to be one. I think quarterback. I think Will Howard will be the Big 12 first-team all-quarterback if he can stay healthy. And I'm really optimistic about the line and linebackers, but guys, I think the safeties, I think they're going to be outstanding. Kobe Savage is back. BJ Payne proved himself as a freshman. Marquise Siegel, works in now as the free safety. I think they're going to be really good at safety. And that's another spot, speaking of true freshmen, where we might see some freshmen on the field as back to safeties on Saturday because they're going to provide a lot of the depth. But the frontline guys are outstanding.
All right, Fitz, before we let you go, what's the record going to be? What are you going to ride with for this 12-game regular season?
I've got them at 10-2. I see them losing at Texas and Texas Tech, but they will get into that Big 12 title game based on tiebreakers and play Tech. I simply don't see Texas. They've never proven to me that they have the focus to come in week in and week out in this conference and compete and win enough to be in the championship game. We saw them fall short last year despite talent. I think they'll do it again this year.
Tim Fitzgerald is the best of the best when it comes to covering all things K-State sports and doing so over at GoPowerCat.com. It's part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Make sure you are a 24/7 VIP. It is absolutely worth it for all the inside scoops on everything going on with K-State football, basketball, and more. And go check out their YouTube as well. GoPowerCat on YouTube. They're going to have a ton of football coverage, extra coverage coming up this year over there. Fitz, we appreciate the time. We're looking forward to all the new content, and enjoy the opener on Saturday.
Thank you, boys. Good to talk to you.
That is the one and only Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com. We've got 1 hour of 580 Sports Talk left, and we'll lead things off with our 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up after the news right here on 580 WIBW. Now, 1 hour left on 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday, August 30th. Welcome back to the show. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He's Dan Lucero with you live from our studios high up on Huntoon Hill. Royals baseball coming up tonight, 7:10 first pitch, 6:30 pregame for the series finale between the Royals and the Pirates. It'll be Angel Zerpa going tonight for the boys in blue. He'll be taking on Andre Jackson, starting pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. What do you know about Andre Jackson?
Former Dodger.
That's more than I know about Andre Jackson. Is that not also the name of a former member of the Oklahoma City Thunder?
You might be thinking of Reggie Jackson.
No, it's definitely an Andre. Oh my gosh. I swear there was an Andre. Maybe it wasn't Jackson. I don't think Roberson. Andre Robertson. That's
yes.
what I was thinking of. Really good defender, cannot shoot the ball to save his life, if I remember correctly.
A really good career and a terrible injury derailed it. Yeah.
He's in the G League now. So there's your Andre Robertson update. But it'll be Andre Jackson for the Pirates tonight against Angel Zerpa for the Royals. Again, 7:10 first pitch, 6:30 pregame. We've got some 580 Sports Talk overtime to get to before we send you to the Royals Radio Network. If you missed our coverage of Brett Veach's press conference earlier, we'll re-rack that. You'll be able to hear that at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. I know some folks had some issues with the YouTube feed, getting the audio through that. So if you missed it, it won't be streaming online, but you'll be able to, or through the YouTube anyway, but you will be able to listen to it on 580 WIBW coming up at the top of the hour for 580 Sports Talk overtime. We will still take your texts and your comments on YouTube throughout the rest of the show today. Our text line number, you know it, 785-272-9429. And our YouTube channel, if you haven't subscribed yet, you are missing out. 580 Sports Talk is what it's called on YouTube, excuse me. Go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, first result. Boom, it's right there. You will get to see all of our daily streams, including the live stream right now. Hi, we're live on video right now. Comment section, live and rolling. Hop in, hang out with the rest of the crew who is in there today, and go check out all of our other stuff as well. I really cannot hammer home enough. With football season starting, we are going to have so much stuff going up on our YouTube channel. Along with our daily shows, we will have our live Chiefs post game. We will bring those back from last year. That was a lot of fun. We'll do that again this year. When Dan or I go to a K-State or a KU game, we will have an update for you. We will have a recap from those games for you.
Even sometimes when we don't, I might,
hell yeah,
decide to do it from my basement after K-State puts another 40 burger on Missouri. Who can say?
Hell yeah, absolutely going to do that.
Actually, I should probably get credentialed for that game.
You should.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you ever been to Columbia?
Yeah, I called a Washburn women's basketball game at Page Sports Arena.
Or whatever. Is it just called Mizzou Arena?
I think
now?
it's just Mizzou Arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, go get credentials for that. Make a call.
I should.
Well, we don't call anymore. We email everyone, but still. Yeah, that'd be a blast. So when we do KU and K-State games, Jake, when he goes to Washburn games, he'll recap that for you on the YouTube. High school recaps, we're going to do a lot more of those on YouTube this year. Didn't do nearly enough. We're going to get back at that this year, and all that and more over on our YouTube channel. So again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We're going to have so much out. We would love for you to check it out and get to be a part of the fun as well. Everything that's live, there's a live comment section. So if you want to react immediately, you are welcome to do so. I'm never going to turn that off. I am addicted to seeing what you have to say. As a poster myself, I want to give you the chance to post.
I love to post, and I also love to read posts.
Yes. That's why I can't quit the stupid Twitter app.
Yeah. I can't leave the Bird app. I might have a Blue Sky invite.
Ooh.
I might be able to get you in.
Ooh, yeah. I would appreciate that.
Me and the cool kids are all hanging out at Blue Sky.
Memes are terrible for radio, but the picture from Arthur, his little sister DW, she's outside the fence at the pool.
Yes.
That's how I feel with Blue Sky. I want the app that works and that the cool people are on.
I haven't really figured out what like my posting niche is going to be over there. Like so far, it's like more pictures of my cats.
That's a good niche to have.
Yes.
I mean, my current one is like tweeting in all caps during Packers games and when KU plays being like, Grady Dick rip out my esophagus, or like Jalen Daniels kick me in the head with steel-toed boots.
Did you see Grady Dick's trying to get a crew together or get with the crew to go pack the booth on Friday night?
Yeah, Grady Dick, Christian Brown, Jalen Wilson. Christian Brown and Jalen Wilson, I give the two of them credit. They have been ride or dies for the football team for years.
Excuse me. That's NBA champion Christian
That
Braun.
is NBA champion Christian Braun. All three of those dudes in the NBA now. How about that? Christian Braun is an NBA champion. I saw he was the focal point of some feature of second-year players for the Nuggets just the other day.
Every time I see the highlights of him putting up 15 points in, what was that, game 3 or 4 of the finals? I think it was game 3 of the finals where he had 15 points. I watch that highlight reel every single time. I watch any highlight reel of the NBA finals any single time. Like, let's be honest, but I particularly enjoy the Christian Braun game.
He is going to be in the NBA for a long time. That is a game that is going to age so well, especially once he gets the 3 down. Once he gets that 3-pointer to go, it is going to be a long, prosperous career for Christian Braun. With that, let's get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines, shall we? We've got a bunch to get to. Unfortunately, a bit of a concerning note for our first headline today. The man that Dan affectionately refers to as the pro sports franchise of the city of Topeka, PGA Tour golfer, former Washburn Ichabod, former Kansas Jayhawk as well, Gary Woodland, made an announcement earlier today that on September 18th, he's going to have surgery on his brain to remove a lesion that was found. It's a very short statement that Woodland put out on his social media. It reads as such: I wanted to share a recent health development with you. On September 18th, I'll be having surgery to remove a lesion found on my brain. I was diagnosed a few months ago and have been trying to treat symptoms with medication. After consulting with multiple specialists and discussing with my family, we've made the decision that surgery to remove the lesion is the best course of action. I'm in good spirits with my family and team by my side, and so thankful for the love and support of everyone. Our own Rick Peterson, who we will talk to tomorrow, planning to get Pistol on at 4:30 tomorrow instead of 3:30. Pistol did speak to Dan and Linda Woodland, Gary's parents, and they said that this came up in May. That's when Gary had received this diagnosis, and they are doing everything they can to make sure this goes as seamlessly as possible. Obviously exhausted every possible outcome to get to this point and to come up with this as the best option. Linda Woodland also adding that the family would appreciate prayers from everyone. So if you are the praying type, send one up for Gary Woodland and his family, his wife, their 3 kids as well, as they're going through a tough time. This whole city is behind Gary Woodland. Like, if you you ask anyone in this city, honestly, in this whole part of the state, maybe this whole state in general, like, what's the approval rating of Gary Woodland? It's got to be dang near 100%.
He represents everything that he's come from so well, whether that's the city of Topeka, Shawnee Heights High School, Washburn, KU, the state of Kansas. He just represents that so well on the stage he's been granted, and obviously he's had a tremendous career in the PGA Tour, 4 wins, including the memorable U.S. Open Championship in 2019. Had a difficult year this year, but I mean, if he was dealing with something, a medical concern of this magnitude, it's no wonder that 2023 was a difficult year on the golf course. Hopefully that this is a procedure that will bring Gary relief and good health, and he can resume his playing career on the high level that he has shown that he's capable of achieving, and will do so again as soon as he's back out there. He'll have this city right behind him, no doubt about it.
Yeah, so thoughts and prayers are certainly with Gary Woodland and, again, his entire family as he goes through this. September 18th, he will be undergoing surgery. Hopefully this can take care of the issue and he can get back out on the course as soon as possible. So we're all thinking of G-Dub right now.
First headline for me on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. It is obviously a day where in the NFL, players are being added to practice squads, and we are seeing now the first reports of players who were not Chiefs during the preseason that are being added to the Chiefs practice squad. Nate Taylor of The Athletic reporting about 5 minutes ago that the Chiefs will sign Keith Taylor, a defensive back who spent the last 2 seasons with the Panthers, and that Taylor will join the 16-man practice squad. Taylor, former Panther, as I mentioned, played his college football at Washington, was a 5th-round draft pick, and over the last 2 seasons appeared in all 34 games for the Panthers, started just 5 of them, and recovered a fumble, forced a fumble, had 6 passes defensed, and racked up 67 tackles and a tackle for a loss. So there is NFL experience being added to the defensive backfield through the practice squad with Keith Taylor. Also being reported that Chiefs will sign tight end Garrett Prince to their practice squad. He was cut by the Jacksonville Jaguars, a former UAB Blazer. Prince last season caught 3 passes for 22 yards in his first season. He is a Kansan himself, a kid from Shawnee, Kansas, who joins the Chiefs practice squad. And also wide receiver Montrell Washington, who was drafted by the Denver Broncos last year in the 5th round out of Samford. Washington appeared in 4 games for the Broncos last season and caught 4 passes total in 15 games played for the Broncos. Caught 4 passes for a total of 2 yards. That was a really bad Bronco offense last year.
Yeah.
Also carried the ball 5 times for 30 yards and was one of the primary return men for the Broncos. We know, of course, that the Chiefs were really high on Nico Remigio's returning potential in the kick and the punt return game, but he's going to spend the season on IR. So a bit of a safety blanket as a return man for the Chiefs on their practice squad. Richie James obviously is going to get the first crack at those with the 53-man roster. Deneric Prince has experience or got experience in the preseason. Montrell Washington has some NFL experience and some AFC West know-how as he is being reported to join the Chiefs practice squad as well.
Do we want to get to the other signings that we know of?
Yeah, we may as well. We also know that Deion Bush, Danny Shelton, Matt Bushman, Deneric Prince, LaMichael Pirine, and Echo Boydo will be on the practice squad. So that's 9 of the 16 names. Oh, Chris Oladokun as well.
Yes.
That's 10 of the 16 that the Chiefs can put on the practice squad that we are aware of. We know that Joshua Kando will not be part of the practice squad. Chiefs are moving on from their 4th round pick 2 seasons ago. Khalif Halasi will not be on that practice squad. The Browns claimed him off of waivers earlier today. Chiefs also made another move. They released Matt Dickerson off of the 53-man roster, the defensive lineman who had initially made the 53. He was released today to make room for Darius Rush, the rookie defensive back who was claimed from the Indianapolis Colts today.
Because if you claim someone on waivers over the last 24 hours, you have to put them on your 53-man roster. You can't just claim someone just to put them on your practice squad. So to make room, I guess I wouldn't really be surprised if Matt Dickerson came back on the practice squad. That seems like it would be a natural choice there. Also, did we get to Chu Godric? Did we mention him?
Oh, Chukwuebuka Godric.
Yes. So he
made the practice squad. So that's 11.
Yes. Now, the thing about Chu, apparently he goes by Chu. I did not know that.
Okay.
Chu Godric, he is part of the NFL's International Player Pathway Program, which it brings in international talent or players who maybe only have a limited experience with football, come to the U.S., maybe they played some in college or didn't play at all in college. They can be a member of the practice squad. They do not count against the 16-man practice squad, and they can still be part of the group. So Chu Godric is actually eventually going to be the 17th member of the practice squad, and then after this year would be eligible to join the main roster should he be good enough to make the roster. So very cool. I love that the NFL does that. And I love that they make it more accessible for those guys to make these teams and you can keep them around and help them develop. That is super cool. Next headline for me. How about some other news and notes from around the NFL today? Some other teams that made some noise. Let's go to the Cincinnati Bengals. They are looking for a little quarterback help. They end up adding Will Grier, who went nuts in Dallas's final preseason game. With Dak Prescott calling plays and Grier playing the entire game, he went 29 of 35 for 305 yards with another 45 on the ground, 3 TDs, no picks.
That legit might be an NFL preseason record for passing yards.
It is probably the greatest preseason game of all time by an individual, certainly in the modern era. He is signed to the Bengals practice squad. The Cowboys told him before that game, hey, we're going to cut you after they traded for Trey Lance and said, hey, you're going to get cut. We're going to give you a chance to put together as much good film as you can. And it might have helped because Will Grier has not exactly endeared himself to the teams he's been on in the past. They have moved on from him very quickly, generally. So good for him that he's going to jump on somewhere else, the former Florida Gator and West Virginia Mountaineer. The Bengals also saw QB1 return to the field today. Joe Burrow out there practicing for the Bengals, which is a good starting sign for him returning to the field for week 1. Let's get to the latest on Jonathan Taylor. We heard yesterday that the Colts are not interested in trading him. They did not get an offer that they saw fit for their star running back, which to me, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't think I am, is pretty much Jim Irsay did not feel like he got enough in return, even though he says his actions indicate he doesn't value the running back. But then when other teams don't value the running back, he's not willing to make a trade to help his team right now. Really doesn't make any sense, but that's kind of Jim Irsay's thing. So with that in mind, there was a report today that of the two teams that were interested, everyone knew Miami. Everybody in the world knew that the Miami Dolphins were one of the teams that were reportedly interested in getting Jonathan Taylor.
Apparently, the Colts asked for Jalen Waddle in return.
No, like Jalen Waddle is a rookie deal wide receiver, a number 2 for the Dolphins, who would be a number. Like, yeah, he's going to be a number 2 behind Tyreek Hill, but like if Jalen Waddle was on the Kansas City Chiefs, that is wide receiver 1.
Yes,
that is Jalen Waddle's good.
Yes.
He's legit. You're not getting Jalen Waddle and picks for a running back who you publicly are saying you don't value.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
No. So it's just increasingly clear they never intended really to trade him in the first place.
No.
If that's what you're asking for, then you're not serious. You're unserious.
The other report pertaining to Jonathan Taylor today was about the second team, the mystery team that was interested. And according to Stephen Holder of ESPN, the Green Bay Packers were the team that reached out to inquire about Jonathan Taylor. That sent Twitter into quite a stir today. And if you heard that earlier somewhere else, I don't think we've brought it up yet today, but if you heard that somewhere, maybe you were worked up into a tizzy over it today. You got to read the story, though, that Stephen Holder put out at ESPN.com. And if you do, and maybe I'm just heavily biased here, this doesn't say anything to me. It says the Green Bay Packers were also in talks with the Colts and had legitimate interest in trading for the star running back. And then adds, the Packers emerging as a contender remains relevant because Taylor can still be traded, yada, yada. And then he adds in later that it's unknown if they are still interested or just how deep that interest goes. So was communication, Brian Gutekunst made a call and said, hey, you still looking? Okay, cool, thanks. Or was it, we'll give you a second round pick? Like, what was it? And until I know, I can't put any stock in this.
Green Bay worried about their running back room? They got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I thought they were set.
Well, and the thing is, like, A.J. Dillon probably hasn't quite lived up to being a second rounder, but he's been fine. He's a fine number 2. He's a good number 2.
Yeah.
And Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in the league.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Awesome. He took a pay cut to get another year in Green Bay. Dillon is also on the last year of his deal with no extension talks as of yet. So you might say, oh, well, they'll sign Jonathan Taylor. They don't, again, a top 5-ish running back in the league in Aaron Jones, they may take a pay cut to keep him. You think they're going to trade draft picks and give a top dollar salary to a running back that's not even their own guy? That wouldn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So I didn't put a whole lot of weight in that. By the way, one other note I wanted to get to, there's another big NFL headline we'll touch on in a moment here, but it does sound like Nick Bosa is going to be on the field week 1 for the San Francisco 49ers. There was a report earlier today that the two sides are getting closer, so do expect a deal for now between the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year and the 49ers that at least will get him on the field for week 1. Beyond that, or at least beyond this season, hard to say.
And perhaps that is something that sets a precedent for another prominent defensive player currently holding out.
I don't know if you saw much of this on social media last night. Maybe it came up on TV too, in various places or on radio. There was a report that the 49ers were interested in moving Bosa and that a team had reached out and that there were talks that maybe weren't super involved, but that an unnamed AFC team was pushing for a trade. And the internet being what the internet is, people took it off and said, oh my God, Nick Bosa and Chris Jones are going to get traded for each other. The Chiefs are the unnamed team.
That would be wild.
It'd be insane.
What a thought experiment that is.
It would be awesome. Like, that would be one of the biggest, most high profile trades of all time.
My disgruntled guy in the last year of his deal for your disgruntled guy in the last year of his deal.
Who would win that trade?
whoever could sign their guy long term.
Yeah, that's you know what? That's probably the answer.
But like for 2023, that's one of those trades with two winners.
Yeah, it really is.
Because it's two of the best sack guys in the whole league. Different ways of going about it.
Yep.
So you got to, change the way you kind of imagining your defensive rotations, but or your defensive line rotations. But no, like I think both teams would walk away if you swapped teams like that. If that really happened, I don't think either team misses a beat. Like you trade a stud for a stud. You just don't see trades like that in sports. They don't happen.
No, you really don't. Which is kind of why I was rooting for it, just because we don't see stuff like that. But don't get your hopes up.
It's like the time the Red Sox and Yankee general managers got drunk at the winter meetings in like the 1940s and were going to swap Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams before cooler heads prevailed in the morning.
I love that. We need more of that in sports.
We really do. GMs getting drunk together and making wild challenge trades. Bring it back. Bring it back.
I've got a really close friend. He went to KU with me, in fact. When we were growing up, he used to go to the Big Ten tournament every year. He and his dad. Then he went to KU, so they go to the Big 12 tournament every year. But there was one year, he was in high school, and afterward, they went to the hotel. It was in Chicago. They went to the hotel where all the teams were staying, and they go to the hotel bar, and who is there but every single Big Ten coach who had played that day? So, like, drunk as a skunk, Tom Izzo, and just, I'm trying to think. So this would have been early 2010s.
John Beeline.
Yeah, all the coaches from the Big Ten were there drinking, palling around. And my buddy and his dad were like, hey, we're huge fans. We live nearby. We're, super college basketball junkies. Like, really cool to meet Tom Izzo. These dudes just letting stories fly like crazy, bad mouthing each other like crazy back and forth. We need more of that.
Yes.
We need to be let into that.
Next headline for me on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. You promised an NFL headline. Here it is. So Terry McDonough is the former vice president of personnel for the Arizona Cardinals, and he has filed an arbitration complaint against the owner of the Cardinals, Michael Bidwill, alleging gross misconduct, including discriminatory and racist treatment of employees, and also the use of burner phones to communicate. Now, you may recall that general manager of the Cardinals, Steve Keim, was suspended for drunk driving at one point in his time as the general manager of the Cardinals. Well, in the course of this hearing, Steve Wilkes, who was the Arizona Cardinal head coach for a grand total of 1 year, testified that a team executive did, in fact, give him a burner phone to communicate with Keim under orders from Keim and Bidwill during Keim's suspension. This is in a deposition transcript that ESPN has obtained. Bidwill and other team executives communicated with Keim throughout his suspension, including while the Cardinals negotiated the 3-year, $39 million contract extension for running back David Johnson. The NFL said at the time it would not impose additional punishment against Keim after the team suspended him. Wilkes said in the deposition it was a directive from Keim as well as Bidwill. They both knew. This happened back in 2018, and Wilkes testified that Bidwill initially ordered Wilkes and others to have no communication with Keim following his guilty plea for drunk driving and his suspension. But Wilkes says Mike Disner, who was former Cardinals vice president of football administration, gave him a burner phone in late July. Wilkes said Disner told him that the two of them, along with Keim, McDonough, and Matt Caracolo, the team's vice president of football operations and facilities, received burner phones. He said Disner showed him how his phone had been preloaded with everybody's initials and phone numbers. Bidwill himself used a burner phone to communicate with Keim, who had multiple burner phones. Wilkes testified, quote, "With me being a first-year head coach, I felt uncomfortable from the beginning that I worked this hard to get to this plateau and this opportunity, and then I was presented with this situation with being unethical." Keim and Wilkes had one text exchange, and Wilkes says that's the only time he reached out to Keim at that time. There's all kinds of other details in the ESPN.com story, but like Steve Keim, bad at his job to the point where he doesn't have it anymore. And yet it was so important during his suspension that they be in open communication that they were using burner phones.
Have these teams and executives and owners tried not being shady? Like, have they just tried not doing this stuff? Like, what about having actual open conversation? What about running things the way you're supposed to run them?
Wilkes said Bidwill also berated him multiple times, including a post-game incident that occurred in front of Wilkes' 9-year-old son. He was driving home with his son after a game and called Bidwill. As soon as he picked up, Wilkes said it was just cuss words and how embarrassed he was about the game and can't really, bring friends or take anybody in the press box. Adding that his son later asked him, "Daddy, why is that guy talking to you like that?"
Okay, that is a lie. You're telling me you're the owner of an NFL team and you can't bring your other rich friends to the press box because your team stinks? Give me a break.
You're the Arizona Cardinals. Stink is default mode.
Give me a break. That's a joke. That is a joke, Michael Bidwill. Oh, my God. This is just try not being shady. That's my advice to you. Pay me millions of dollars to tell you this and be your advisor. Don't be shady. They get what's coming to them. They absolutely do. Steve Keim, bad at his job, bad at the background stuff in his job. Michael Bidwill, bad owner forever. Bidwill family, bad owners forever. Arizona gets exactly what they deserve, and hopefully they will get what they deserve. That does it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's get to a break. On the other side of this timeout, we will continue today's Big 12 football team previews, the also-rans for the conference. We'll talk about them next on 580 Sports Talk. .34 on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan. He's Dan. Welcome back to the show. If you've missed any of the program so far, head to our website. That's 580wibw.com. Go to the podcasts tab. Click on 580 Sports Talk for the hour-by-hour breakdown of the show. And, of course, go to YouTube, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Simple, easy to find, same name as the show. Look us up. You can check out today's live stream, live right now, comment section live right now. And you can rewind. You can just scroll back to anything you may have missed earlier on in the show. So go check it out. That's on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is where you can find us. Earlier today, we ran through our team previews for some of the top contenders for the Big 12 title this year. We'll get to KU and K-State coming up tomorrow. But today, to round things out, we will get to the other guys. We've had the contenders. We'll get to our schools tomorrow. We got through the new guys yesterday, now or 2 days ago now. Now it is the also-rans. West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Baylor. Teams that we expect to have varying degrees of success, who are
not
success in a couple of these cases, and are not really at the forefront of the conference consciousness right now. Do we start with the better teams or the worst teams from this group?
Let's start with the better team. Fascinating question. Which of these four do you expect to have the best season? Is it Baylor or Oklahoma State, essentially?
I think the best of the bunch is going to be Baylor. I don't think this team is going to be as good as they were, say, 2 years ago when they won the league. But I do think this Baylor team is going to be decent. I think they're a top half of the league kind of team. I think they are going to be in a better spot than Oklahoma State.
Do they play LIU?
Yes, they play Long Island University.
The Sharks, right?
Yeah, they are the Sharks. The merger, I don't know if you knew this, they merged their campuses a couple years ago because it was LIU Brooklyn and LIU Post. Post was D2 of the football team. Brooklyn was D1 non-football.
Right.
They just merged them and became Sharks.
Yeah, LIU Brooklyn was the Blackbirds.
Yeah, it was really cool, too.
Yeah.
Now they're Sharks, which is also a good name, but
I watched
sure.
I watched an LIU hockey game on ESPN Plus one night. They were playing Alaska Anchorage.
That's a long trip.
Yeah.
Who was on the road?
Alaska Anchorage.
Wow, that is a long trip.
Yeah,
I didn't know LIU had hockey.
Yes, they play at the Islanders practice facility, it would appear.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
I don't know if you believe this. The game was not terribly well attended.
I am not surprised by that. How many people do you think ask, there's a Long Island University? Do you mean Stony Brook? I have a feeling that comes up every now and again.
Anyway,
yeah, they play LIU.
That'll be a nice bounce back for them after Utah.
Yeah, playing Utah is good. That's a real team. I've been upset at Baylor for not playing real teams in their non-conference for years. So I'm glad they at least play Utah. Why are you playing Long Island?
Because that's between Utah and Texas.
Yeah, I suppose.
And you don't want to go on a 3-game losing streak early in the season. But all those games are at home. So, I mean.
Yeah, they don't go on the road till September 30th at UCF. And then they get Tech at home in a bye game. They have one game on the road until October 21st.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a pretty favorable schedule. They've got the five conference home games, and then they play all their non-conference games at home. We don't know if Utah's going to have Cam Rising for that game next week. They're not, as has been widely reported, going to have him for their season opener tomorrow against Florida. So who knows? Might be a diminished version of Utah, though well rested, coming off of a long week. Yeah, those first 4 weeks, they come out of that 2-2. I mean, it still wouldn't be the end of the world. But if they come out of it 3-1, they could really have some momentum because then they could go to UCF and win potentially. I kind of think UCF will beat them. And then Texas Tech, I mean, not an easy team this year at home. Back into the year, they got to go to Cincinnati, K-State, and TCU. They're at home against Iowa State, Houston, West Virginia. Those are all very winnable home games for them.
Yeah, I like the back half of their schedule a lot.
It's a bowl team. I don't know. I think they probably have to go. They got to go 2-1 in their first 3 conference games to have a real shot, I think, at contending in the league.
I would agree with that, and I think that's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
I really do. The matchup with UCF, I think, is going to tell us a lot about both of these teams.
Yes.
UCF, what are you going to be able to do against a team that is going to play physical football, mid-season physical football? If Dave Aranda is going to be anything, his teams are going to be that. So that's going to be a big test for UCF. And I think it'll be a good test of Baylor's mettle, too, because that's their first road game of the year. That is not an easy place to play on the road. The bounce house is going to be crazy for that game. So I'm interested there. I'm not a huge Blake Shapen guy, but the consistency at the quarterback spot is, I think, useful. And I think that gives them a big leg up from this group over Oklahoma State, which, on the flip side, has no idea what they're doing at quarterback. And Mike Gundy has said, hey, we're going to do 2. We're going to figure it out on the fly.
Yeah, that's not you don't really want to be there to start a season. They do kind of ease into it. Central Arkansas week 1, then they go to Arizona State, who is not going to be good.
They're going to suck.
Then they're home to South Alabama. And then they go to Iowa State. So they got a real chance to be 4-0 going into the bye. Then the Kansas Gauntlet, the Sunflower State teams come to Stillwater back-to-back weeks. That weird Friday nighter against K-State on October 6th.
Dumb.
Kansas the week after that. There is a very real path. If they defend their home turf, there is a path to 8-0 with Oklahoma coming to town for Bedlam. There is a path. I don't think they'll get there. I think at best they split with Kansas and Kansas State. But
I would agree with that.
Iowa State, West Virginia, and Cincinnati might be the 3 worst teams in the league. and those are the other league games
Mhm.
before Oklahoma. Like they're gonna have a real look at it. They'll probably be in the top 25 if they take care of their business. They'll be in the top 25 if they go 1-1 against the Sunflower Schools, which I think they probably. I mean, like it's a win a bowl game for Kansas, but I think they probably beat them. Like coin flip kind of game for me, and I tend to lean with the home teams if I'm just doing long-term prognosticating. But I think Kansas State will beat them.
I need to adjust something I said, by the way. They did end up naming Alan Bowman as their starter. I said that they weren't sure what they were going to do. They might still mix it up their first couple of weeks. Central Arkansas, Arizona State, South Alabama. You might still see Garrett Rangel get some playing time.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Bowman did win the job. Alan Bowman can't stay healthy.
Yeah, Alan Bowman is 29 years old. Like he's so old.
He is. Is he 29?
I don't think he's 29.
He is old.
He's
though.
been around a long time. He was at Texas A&M, not Texas A&M. He was at Texas Tech for 3 years, wasn't he? Then he transferred to Michigan.
He's 23.
Okay, I thought he was older than that.
And I thought so.
It felt
too,
like
to be
he
honest
feel like
with
he's
you.
been in college forever.
He was born March 6th of 2000.
Okay,
But yeah, 3 years at Tech, 2 years at Michigan, now Oklahoma State. So I do believe he's out of eligibility after this season. Gunnar Gundy is also still around. If they have to play Gunnar Gundy, oh dear. I don't know. There is a part of me that is convinced that this team is going to be fighting not for a top 4 spot in the league. They're going to be fighting for bowl eligibility because I don't love this roster. Like Bowman, if he's healthy, fine, quarterback. Brennan Presley's back for another year. He's a good player. Deshaun Stripling, I think, is a good player as well. Stribling, excuse me. I think they've got good players. I don't think they have top-end talent. Like, you could say, yeah, they're good, but you can find a handful of other guys at every position who are better across the Big 12 than Oklahoma State is.
a bet on Oklahoma State is a bet on Mike Gundy.
Yes.
And I don't know that he is a great coach, but I certainly think he's a good one. And I think that I think they tend to max out kind of what their ability is. They don't feel like they're going to underachieve this year. Feels like about a 7-win roster, but like, again, they go 4-0, then they got the bye, and then the Friday night home game against K-State. If they upset K-State, like there's a path to 8-0. There really is before Bedlam. And then they will lose Bedlam because that's what they do.
Yep.
Then they go on the road back-to-back weeks, UCF, Houston, and then home to BYU. Like,
They can beat Houston, even on the road.
They don't have to play Texas. Like, it's a
Yeah.
schedule that is pretty favorable. Like, there's a little more upside here than their roster might suggest because of the schedule.
No,
But
I'd agree with that.
I have trouble seeing them win more than 8.
Let's get to what I think is the easiest of the next two. Let's do West Virginia because we've talked about them a bunch, and it sort of feels, and by sort of I mean entirely feels like Neil Brown is on borrowed time at this point.
Penn State's going to rush for 300 yards against them on the first big Saturday night game in history on NBC.
Honestly, I think Penn State is going to throw the ball all game. They're going to get that Drew Aller Heisman hype going instantly. They're going to throw the ball, I think, 40 times in that game.
Well, that would be dumb, but their coach is James Franklin.
Not a James Franklin guy.
No, I'm not. Really.
Interesting.
Like I think he's fine. Like I think James Franklin is fine. If they do anything other than give it to that 2-headed monster they got at running back, I don't care who their quarterback is. They just feed it to those guys.
Yeah.
They'll pave West Virginia. West Virginia will beat Duquesne. They'll lose to Pitt. They get Tech at home to open. They're at TCU, Houston, UCF, Oklahoma, and Baylor. Their home games in the league are Tech, Oklahoma State, BYU, and Cincinnati. Again, favors them not having to play Texas. There's a couple winnable home games in there, but there's also a very real chance they start 1-4 before the bye. And then is Neil Brown even the coach when they go to Houston on October 12th?
Probably not. I mean, I would think here's the reason why you keep him. You keep him because you try to stay as stable at your coaching positions in your major sports as possible.
Yeah.
For as long as possible. I mean, if they don't make a bowl, he's going to get fired.
Yeah. I don't know. Doesn't seem like the vibes are great. And it might be, well, I would have said it was the least talented roster until the next team we talk about started shedding guys because they go full 8 men out in the state of Iowa, apparently. But yeah, it's not a real good roster. I don't think they're going to be favored in a lot of these games. They're going to pull some upsets.
So Phil Steele has West Virginia second to last or last in numerous categories in terms of positional strength. Specialists, quarterbacks, near the bottom in defensive back talent, near the bottom in receiver talent. And we talked about this earlier in the offseason, but at the very least, even if you haven't paid attention to college football news very much over the offseason, there are guys you've heard of, like Oklahoma State. I don't think that's an especially good roster, but if you pay attention to Big 12 football, you know Brennan Presley.
Yeah.
You've heard of DeJon Stripling. Like, you know of those guys.
And Alan Bowman has played in the league. Like, it's been a while since he's really played football, but he's played in the league.
I mean, WVU it's nobody's. Like Montre Miller, I remember him as a player, but like there's the Sills brothers, even from recent years, like you knew some of these West Virginia
running
players.
backs were, or even last year, JT Daniels, a quarterback.
JT Daniels, Letty Brown, like you knew these guys. This is the most anonymous Big 12 roster that isn't Kansas to the outside world that I can remember.
Wow.
I mean, it is bleak.
Yeah.
Kansas not oblivious or, foreign to us, but we cover the team.
Yeah.
Finally, Iowa State. If they can field the team, this is a winning season for Iowa State because they have nobody left because their best running back is gone. Their best quarterback is gone. Multiple starters on both sides of the ball are gone because of the gambling scandal. I don't know. I mean, any number of wins is I'm not giving them Northern Iowa to start the season.
No.
UNI is always a hard game.
That's not a gimme. Ohio doesn't look particularly good, but maybe they get Curtis Rourke back for week 3.
Oh my God, that might be the worst quarterback game of the year.
Yeah, if Rourke's not back healthy. What Big 12 game are they going to be favored in? I don't think they're going to be favored in a single Big 12 game this year.
They don't get Houston, and they don't get West Virginia.
They do get Cincinnati, but that's a road game.
Yeah, it's a road. They're not going to be favored on the road.
They go to BYU. They're not going to be. I don't think they'll be favored against Kansas at home. I don't think they're going to be a favorite in a single Big 12 game this year.
Are they going to be favored, period, in a game this year? They're not conference. Northern Iowa, Ohio.
They'll be favored against Ohio. But
it's at Ohio. That's in Athens.
3.5.
Yeah. Ohio looked bad.
That's tough. Their roster to take that kind of hit so close to the start of the season, that's a hard thing to recover from. Even if you're high on Matt Campbell, and I'm not relative to a lot of people.
Same.
I don't think he's a bad coach, but I certainly don't think he's the kind of guy that, oh my gosh, other programs move heaven and earth to hire this guy. I just think it's going to be really, really difficult for Iowa State to rebound from the losses that they've taken. And I think that's going to be they weren't as bad as their record last year. They're kind of the inverse Texas Tech, where they lost all the close games that they played, and they'll find a way to be good on defense because they typically do. But it's really hard for me to see much more than one conference win, maybe 2.
Our final Big 12 team previews, KU and K-State, coming up tomorrow here on 580 Sports Talk. Right now, we've got to get to a break. We've got more of the program up next on 580 WIBW. Are you in or are you out on volleyball day in Nebraska?
I'm all the way in.
So if you haven't seen, it's going on right now at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. 80,000 strong are going to be packed in there tonight.
They think they can get 90.
Good. I hope they do.
The world record for the most people to watch a volleyball match, a women's volleyball match. They did it out in Spain. I think they had one at the new camp where Barcelona plays soccer. They got like 91,000 plus. And if there's anything that Nebraska loves, it's setting attendance records, even if they have to fudge a little bit to set them. And so they are gunning for that 91,000 plus tonight. And they might do it.
I hope they do it. That is so cool. It's a doubleheader, a D2 game followed by a Nebraska D1 game.
Yeah, it's a MIAA member, Nebraska Kearney, playing Wayne State. They're playing right now.
Yes.
And then in 1 hour, I believe, it will be Nebraska taking on Omaha. It will be on the Big Ten Network. I'm going to turn it on and check it out. I want to see what this looks like. I want to see what the crowd sounds like. I want to see this.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, my former junior high basketball teammate and Lyons Township High School alumnus Connor Onion will be on the call of that game.
Is that right?
I believe that is the case. Yeah, it's awesome. I love the sport of volleyball. It is an incredible sport. It's a great spectator sport. Great game to watch.
So I had no real familiarity with volleyball. We know your background. You played volleyball in high school, and you've been open about that. I used to broadcast. I have done play-by-play of high school and junior college volleyball. That all started when I started working in Nebraska. I worked in North Platte, Nebraska from 2009 to 2013. And when I got there really tight to the start of the season. And so my fall schedule was already done for me. So I had to go do a volleyball match. My first one, it was the junior college. North Platte has a community college. They were playing the Hastings College JV. And we put that on because it's a regular season match for the night. So we put it on the radio. And I went down to Hastings. It was a 5-set match. And I literally the night before did a cram session and learned everything I could possibly learn about volleyball. And over the 4 years of calling it there, and then I've also broadcast it in other places as well, I've grown to really enjoy the sport as a spectator sport. And having that prior knowledge too of just how much it really means in Nebraska. Like, I think sometimes that kind of stuff can get overstated. Like, we love our football here. We basketball, this is a basketball state, things like that. But when Nebraska says they're a volleyball state, they can say that with a straight face and mean it. They really do care and love that sport at all of its levels, from the Panhandle all the way to the big cities on the east side of the state. And they certainly love their Husker volleyball, and it's going to be a really cool spectacle to see that tonight. I am, usually not psyched about saying nice things about Nebraska, but I will do it in this case.
Yeah, if you can watch on Big Ten Network, would definitely advise it. It is going to be awesome. And if you're not into volleyball, you should be into it because it is an incredible spectator sport. We've got to get to one final break. We'll come back, wrap things up with the final word on 580 Sports Talk. Final word time. Let's wrap it up, Dan.
Real quick, Royals thought. I said at the top of the show, I'll close it with this thought. You've been looking for an ace for the Kansas City Royals. I mean, we're only a handful of starts in, but Cole Reagans is what an ace looks like. He was stellar again last night. Never mind the bullpen taking a dump behind him. Cole Reagans appears to be that dude. He is what an ace looks like, and the Royals have something to be excited about every 5 days.
Final thought for me, Chris Jones situation, not getting any clearer. I don't really think Brett Veach's comments today made me feel a whole lot more confident. Yeah, communication's good. You got to be communicating with him and his agency. But then when pressed about it, he didn't really offer any sort of details that would make me think anything is getting a whole lot closer. One team that is a Super Bowl contender got their star pass rusher back. That's San Francisco, or they're working on it anyway. Chiefs, before give him a few extra bucks to get him back on the field this year at the very least. Find a way to get him on the field this year. Worry about the rest after the season ends. We've got overtime. We'll listen back to Brett Veach coming up at the top of the hour. The two of us are back coming up tomorrow from 2 until 6. So until then, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. This is 580 Sports Talk. We've got Royals baseball coming up at 7:10 tonight.